This week on NWP, mwah, 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 mwah.
Look, I don't know about you, but I really believe that there's one person out there for everybody. That's what this is about. It's not just some sappy love letter telling her how my heart stops every time that I see her. It's in there. But it's not just to tell her how I think she's more than the homecoming queen or Mike's girlfriend, or how there's this really amazing person inside of her that no one even bothers to see. It's in there too, but what it's really about is how she just give me a chance. Just one chance. Maybe we could find out if there's a reason for all of this. Why she's not with Mike tonight. And after 4 years, I'm still here with this letter. Maybe we could find out what that reason is. You know? It's time to find out. I think I'm ready to do this. Finally. Any words of encouragement?
Would you like to touch my penis? Huh? I am a sex machine. Sex machine.
Ooh la la.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 39. I am Julian, and I'm joined as always by Patrick.
How you doing?
And sounding all sexy because he upgraded the apparatus, we have Angelo.
The apparatus, huh?
Yeah, like the tick. Listen to that mic. Just listen to it. It sounds nigh professional. And special guest, we have JD from the site.
What's up?
It's been a little bit since you were on.
It's been a little while, but it's good to be back.
Always.
Yes.
And we have JD on for a specific reason that we'll get into later, but also this episode, well, it's coming out like a week before Valentine's Day, but it's our chance to do like our little annual like kind of Valentine's Day thing. Last year we did the romantic languages as seen in video games that Patrick came up with. This year we're just going to do straight up, the most trite, boring thing we can possibly do, which is talk about romance in video games, which is obviously an idea that I came up with because it's not very inspired. But that's what we're going to do later on. But Angelo, especially since we want to test out that new mic, you had stuff that you wanted to talk about, and you actually mentioned it like multiple times in the previous episode, and then we just never came back to it.
Yeah. Well, there was a few things. I did bring up the fact a few times that my wife and I are playing through Kingdom Hearts, the new release of it, 1.5. And did you want to talk about that first, or do you want to talk about like the games that I picked up and the movies I watched? I mean, whatever one you want to do it in.
However you want to take it, man.
All right. Well, let's start with that since I already brought it up.
I'll fix it in post.
Huh?
I'll fix it in post.
Post.
Woo. Okay.
This is totally fake. I'm just kidding.
Anyway. So yeah, we've been playing Kingdom Hearts 1.5, and I haven't played the original, so I can't tell you how it compares, but I do know it looks pretty darn good. It's obviously not going to look like a straight PS3 game, like developed for the platform, because it can't. The assets are completely different and everything like that, but it does look really nice. Like, I don't have any complaints with looking at it on my giant screen. It holds up pretty well, all stretched out and everything. So far, we've gotten as far as Atlantis.
Oh, I just finished that part.
Yeah, and that was about the part where my wife started to get really frustrated with it, because that place is, she's stuck in it.
It's pretty frustrating. I definitely was getting a little fed up at certain points, and then I had to put it down for a day because pretty much I got to the final boss fight there, and I guess I don't know if I'm under leveled or just like I don't have the right equipment, but I was having a little bit of trouble but then I just slept on it and then came back to it today and I was able to beat it. But
is this
that level? It's not the one from Kingdom Hearts 2 where you have all the singing. It's pretty much like you're just swimming around the whole time.
Kind of a maze.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a maze, but it's not very intuitive. It's more annoying than anything. But
well,
nothing.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just because like in general, there's a lot of things that you can do when you're on the land levels that you kind of can't do. So the combat, instead of having all your unique abilities, it kind of just goes down to your magic and your basic attack. So combat, which is usually the most fun part, isn't as fun as it normally is, and then you have to swim around, and historically, like, water levels are always like a drag, so you can kind of imagine that was kind of a little bit of a dull.
Yeah, the thing that you said that kind of describes my entire experience with this game is not intuitive. There is nothing about this game that I find intuitive, and I don't want to hate on it too hard, but I really don't like playing this game.
That's kind of interesting because, like, the very first time I played it on PS2, and I didn't beat the game. I think I may have gotten up to, like, Agrabah or something like that. But either way, I was really not a fan of the platforming controls, and I still am not. Like, I still think the jumping controls and the camera is like, pretty horrible. It is better in 1.5 because you have more control over it, but like, I feel like that really does hurt the experience, but I ended up finding a little bit more fun in it, but I'll let you finish explaining first.
Okay. So yeah, it was pretty much just my wife playing it, and then she I think she played it by herself with me, like, kind of guiding her along, because she hasn't had a whole lot of experience with RPGs. Her previous experience to this was Dragon Quest IX, and that was it. Like, this is her second RPG that she's ever played, and this is way more action-oriented. So she was perfectly fine walking around and wailing on enemies, and, even just going through it until we got to the boss of Wonderland, which is terrible. It is, like, one of the worst designed bosses, and I don't know, maybe I was doing it wrong, but it just sucked to take it down. It was not fun.
Who is it?
It's just this big thing on stilts that you have to hit it in the crotch until it falls over, and then you can wail on it a few times.
It's not anything actually from Wonderland, because that's, like, my favorite property.
No, that's the thing I love about this game. I love everything that they do that's referential. I think they do all of that fantastically. Like, I am thrilled to see every single property when it pops up. The Square properties, the Disney properties. That has been very enjoyable. I really like everything about this game except playing it, which seems to be something I'm saying a lot recently. But it's just, like you said, the jumping is terrible. The level design is okay. I understand you're working on a PS2, so you can't have a seamless environment. Like, that really didn't happen. The first time I saw a real seamless environment that kind of just loaded as you played was the first Halo game, which, and I don't want to say that was the first time I did it, but that was the first time I noticed, like, wow, look how seamless this is. There's no loading screens in between one section of the map and another section of the map. It all just flows. I forgot how jarring that could be because we've just gotten so used to it this generation. And it makes it harder to find your way around levels. And the jumping isn't good. It's just not good. The camera's terrible.
That's one of the worst parts, I would say.
Yeah, and getting used to working the menu while you're playing the game, like the menu that stays in the lower left, and you kind of have to manage that if you want to cast a spell that you haven't put a shortcut up for or do anything else. It's not fun to do.
Now, see, it's been 10 years since I played that game, and I do remember the camera being bad even then, but it was just, like, a lot of cameras were bad back then, so it wasn't as, it's probably amplified now, as far as that. I can't speak to how it holds up now, but as far as managing the menu, like, that was something that has always been easy for me because, like, Final Fantasy XI was, like, the same thing where you'd be moving around with the analog sticks and handling the controller, or the camera with the right stick, and then using the D-pad to, like, go through, like, and cycle through things and stuff like that.
I didn't have as much of a problem with that. I mean, wait, what Final Fantasy was that?
11.
Oh, okay. I might not be thinking of that one.
Yeah, 11 was the MMO.
Yeah,
right,
obviously you can't pause or anything.
But the thing is, with an MMO, you auto-attack. In Kingdom Hearts, you have to keep mashing the attack button to keep attacking.
That's true.
It's really weird, especially in those situations where you have to heal people or use an item. It's like that kind of thing will end up getting you killed because you kind of have to stand still for a little while. And maybe there's some people who like know how to maneuver the system, but it can get pretty hectic. But I feel like the combat does redeem itself as you get more skills, and that's kind of what's been keeping me playing alongside just that and the fan service are what's keep pushing me through it. And I'm enjoying it. Like from what I've been told, Kingdom Hearts 2 fixes a lot of those problems. So I'm playing it a lot with the promise that the sequel will be a lot better. So
I couldn't finish the sequel.
From people I've talked to,
sorry.
Real quick, from people I've talked to that have played both games, the camera is dramatically improved in 1.5, but it's still really not good. But anyway, go on. What were you saying?
Do you think that it's not just your game that feels like pressing X all the time to attack? It's like any action RPG. Like the one I was playing for the last 2 weeks was Tales of Xillia. And
but Tales of Exile is so much different. It's so I'm sorry, I'm getting passionate because I like the game so much.
Oh, I love the game, but if you don't put it on passive battle mode, you're pressing X and O all the time, don't you feel like that?
Well, it's a lot of X and circle, but it depends on the combos you're trying to do, because say you're trying to build an optimal combo, it's less about mashing out the attack and more about saying, okay, I'm going to do this, which is going to let me do this art, which and link it to this art properly, and there's a little bit more of a fighting game aspect to it, whereas in Kingdom Hearts it's a lot more just smash. Which is, I'm not knocking it for that. I'm just saying I feel like Tales is a little bit less mashy. Let me rephrase. It can be less mashy. You can play it very mashy, but at the same time, the way I play Tales of Exilia or Vesperia, whatever, it's a little bit more fighting gamey,
Yeah, I like the way you described it, because you can get through it if you just want to press X the whole time, probably.
Yeah,
but it's going to be awful.
And I think, sorry. I was going to say, I think that's kind of indicative of a lot of third-person games where you're using melee combat. I mean, when you get down to brass tacks, I mean, God of War is very square. Mm-hmm. Devil May Cry is kind of the same. I mean, obviously you have more things that you can do, but initially, especially before you start unlocking moves, I mean, it's definitely more of a I'm going to press this button 3 times over and over and over, until something else pops up, and it's a little more pronounced in action RPGs because they're inherently less twitchy. So until you start to unlock more abilities, it feels very basic and repetitive.
Yeah, I'm enjoying, like you said, the fan service. I mean, some of that stuff just has me bouncing up and down on the couch while it's happening, because it's a lot of fun to see all this stuff come together.
Which worlds have you seen so far? Because
all of them up to Atlantis. So that's that's Wonderland. That's the Disney Castle place. The original island, of course. The jungle one with Tarzan. Okay. And what other ones?
No, because I know some people did it in different orders, but have you done Monstro yet?
Oh yeah, we did that one. We did the Aladdin one, and we did the Pinocchio one. Yeah.
Okay, and Hercules.
And Hercules. Yep. Well, part of Hercules. Yeah, I think you have to keep going back there.
Yeah, so you and I pretty much done the same worlds. I just unlocked Halloween Town just now, so.
Yeah, and everything where I'm not playing the game has been extremely fun. Seriously. I know that sounds kind of like a dig, but it almost makes up for the amount of not fun I'm having with the mechanical aspect of it, because everything that's happening around it is just fun.
There's certain games I think that can definitely get by on that. I mean, not to pimp it yet again, but I think that's the crux of Asura's Wrath is that the gameplay isn't all that great, but the spectacle kind of more than makes up for it. Because go ahead, Patrick.
Maybe even Final Fantasy 13. That's probably the only reason I got through it, because the spectacle was so great.
I actually feel the battle system on 13 is pretty excellent, but most of the other stuff surrounding it is not. So because I think I definitely was there for the gorgeous beauty. I really like the characters, but I can toss that story. And then I thought the battle system was pretty challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But
this is what I mean by spectacle.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, and I was kind of playing with you, Angelo, before we started recording, because I was going to say I was going to have a nice little debate with you on Kingdom Hearts, but I really can't defend it because it's been so long since I played it, and I have no idea if it holds up. It's kind of like how we were talking about Lunar last episode, where it's like I can't objectively say anything because all of my memories are fond. I mean, even at the time, I definitely had problems with some of the platforming and the camera. For some reason, when you mentioned Wonderland, like, I kind of shuddered, and I don't really remember why. I just have this memory of not enjoying going through that level. So
yeah, for good reason, because I had the same experience. Like, I was like, I remember not liking Wonderland much, and then when I was playing, I was like, yep, I remember why. But I made it through this time.
Yeah, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 for me, like, I was really excited to play it, and then it felt like, well, first it was like the most boring, like, intro to a game. It's like 3 hours of nothing. And then it felt like I was like, it seemed front loaded with the worlds you'd been to in the first game. So it felt like a rehash instead of like moving things forward, and that really kind of made me put it down, and I just never went back.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of times the game attempts to do things that the game just plain isn't good at. And I mean, I don't think Lunar ever does that. I think Lunar, if we're going to compare the two just briefly, it knows what it is and doesn't attempt to do things that it does not do well. It has a good combat system. It has a cute, lighthearted story. I think it would hold up. I could recommend it to anybody that would enjoy like retro RPGs with pretty solid confidence. Kingdom Hearts, I think I would recommend it to people based on the nostalgia factor alone, and then say, okay, you may or may not be able to enjoy these mechanics. I don't know, because they do have a hard time holding up, I think.
That's fair. And it makes you wonder about Final Fantasy 15, right? Because that's basically the Kingdom Hearts team that's working on that game. So
yeah, this is how much later. I think they've learned stuff since the original Kingdom Hearts. I would hope they have.
Have they, though? Because I feel like a lot of Japanese developers haven't, so I'm worried.
It's been plenty of time.
Yeah, but I also get the impression that a lot of that time has been spent not really doing a lot. Like, I feel like a lot of that time has been Tetsuya Nomura just like kind of coming up with fashion designs, because that's really what he wants to do as a vocation.
More zippers.
Oh yeah,
now, please.
Oh my gosh, I saw at one point we were playing and the camera just sort of panned over to the top of Donald Duck's hat, and his hat is graced by this giant winding zipper all over it, and I'm like, friggin' Nomura.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's funny because I was browsing around Best Buy the other day, and I really like to look at the they have like a PlayStation 4 kiosk, but it's really just it plays like trailers and stuff. You can't play any games, but I like to go look at it there because it's on an HD display. So it's like, you lose so much on trailers now because like the compression on these videos is really bad. So I was watching the Final Fantasy 15 trailer, and it's the one where they've kind of introduced more of the characters. I'm just like, you know what? Screw you, man. Every character in here just looks so ridiculous. I'm so over you.
Yeah. And Final Fantasy 15 looks really cool, but the one thing I'm not sold on is the character designs. Like, especially since they're all wearing like black, like they just aren't really appealing in that way to me. Like, I know some people really gush over that kind of look, but for me, it's just not working. Like, I do want to play it, don't get me wrong, and hopefully they have more to them than just that, black weird look. But I don't know.
Yeah, I still have to play it too. I never really feel like I miss out on any game when I play or when I play that, because like I always come across a Final Fantasy and leave thinking like that was worth it in some way.
Yeah, I mean, even 13, people complain about it, but at the same time, like, for the most part, when I played that game, I enjoyed it. Even if I finished that game with a weird expression on my face, like, it was still fun.
There's only one mainline Final Fantasy that I actively dislike, so that's a pretty good track record for me as far as.
And that's the one that pretty much everybody does.
Which is
it?
If you don't mind me asking.
Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
F that game.
You mean NES Final Fantasy 2, not Final Fantasy 4. Okay.
Yeah, I do feel like we've evolved to where we don't have to make that qualifier anymore. But no, that's
right. I just wanted to make sure that anybody who, clarifying.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't think there's a whole lot of people that like that game, and I think there's a very particular reason why the person who was responsible for a lot of those choices got their own series and no longer was doing Final Fantasy stuff. So
the one thing, just like quickly, because I actually want us to do a Final Fantasy show once, because there's a ton of Final Fantasies coming out right around February and March. So we'll probably do that next month.
It's pretty much Final Fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. But but real quick, the one thing from Final Fantasy II that I'm surprised that they haven't done more with was the abilities going up based on your weapons. The only ones that they've really that have carried that forward were Final Fantasy 11 and 14. And I find that really bizarre because I think that's a pretty intuitive system. It was just everything else that game had just did not work.
And I like that a lot in 9.
Well, but 9 was a different system. This is actually where your weapon proficiency would go up.
Oh, I know you. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not yeah, I know the system. The 9 system is really great too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing maybe a blend of those two.
Ooh.
But we'll get there. We'll get there with that episode. Anything else, Angelo? Because we've got some other stuff.
Oh yeah. I got plenty of stuff. I have. I picked up some games to sort of shore up my collection.
Because the backlog wasn't big enough.
No, after our last conversation, I went on kind of a working designs buying binge.
Damn you, Patrick.
Huh? Yeah, it was Patrick's fault. I picked up Slipheed for PlayStation 2.
Sylpheed.
Sorry. It's my first time pronouncing it, actually. I've only read it up until now.
No, it's becoming sort of like our Quest for the Holy Grail thing. We have to. He'll ask us 5 questions. 3 questions, sir. 3 questions. What's the answer to 5 questions? 3 questions.
Nice. And then I picked up some regular PlayStation games. I picked up Raystorm, Silhouette Mirage, which I've been dying to play ever since I saw a quick Let's Play of it. Because Silhouette Mirage looks completely wacky and unique and fun. And hard.
Yeah, mostly that last one, because from what I understand, the game is kind of broken in the port. There's some certain things with the way the difficulty was scaled that is wrong.
Huh.
But then I know people have finished it, so you can. It's doable. It's just that it's not supposed to be that way. That's what I have read.
Yeah, he did adjust. Victor Island was known for tweaking games sometimes more than they needed to be.
Yeah.
There was another one that I didn't pick up. I think it's one of the 2 PlayStation games I'm missing, and I can't remember what it's called. But it also suffers from a little bit of over tweaking on his part.
Mm-hmm.
And Thunder Force 5. So that was the other one I picked up based on the fact that Thunder Force's music is awesome, and I wanted a good shmup. So there we go. And I'm sorry if you have an active disdain for that term. It just kind of fell out because that's what everybody calls them now. You can't call them shooters anymore. Shooters are first-person shooters for some reason.
Yeah, I guess. It's the video game industry is so messed up with the way that we talk about games, right? Because we still don't have an actual name for the genre that we call roguelike, right? Mm-hmm. All that says is it's a game that plays like Rogue, but most people have never played Rogue, so that doesn't even mean anything.
Well, first person survival for how long?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand why it never graduated past that. Or we don't. What was that, Patrick?
It could be like the Robinson Crusoe genre. It doesn't have to be called Rogue, but it could be any game it could have been. It didn't have to be that one. I don't know why it stays that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a perfect point. You don't call the mystery novel this is an Agatha Christie that's it's, what no and it's the whole Metroid Castlevania Metroidvania thing or whatever. There needs to be a name for that type of gameplay, but there's not. It's really frustrating. Yeah. But yeah, Angelo, to your point, I still when someone says shooter, I tend to know what they're talking about, but I think it's actually a dying term.
I know.
See, when you say shooter, you could also mean Resogun, which I was just playing, so it could be any of 3 things,
Yeah.
Could be a first-person shooter, could be a third-person shooter.
I guess for me, when I was growing up, that's where the shmup comes. I still call them shoot-em-ups, because it was you had your beat-em-up, your shoot-em-up, and that's kind of the 2 big arcade styles.
Yeah, shmup is just a lazy way to say that.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I'm just saying, don't forget about the top-down shooter, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Or the vertical shooter, or the horizontal shooter.
And the term top-down is so silly.
Yeah.
We're all just so silly. It's gonna
So
burn
anyway.
this mother effing cow.
You gonna put that quote in again?
I'd like to.
So I also got...
son? I don't know. Callbacks.
Yeah. For the episode that we just put live. So we're already being self-referential. Anyway, I also picked up Odin Sphere because Vanillaware is gorgeous. For PlayStation 2, I got that on disc. And I was in a Goodwill the other day, and I figured, well, let's see what they have for video games. It took me a minute to find the video game section, and most of what they had was crap. But I did find a collection of Taito arcade games on the PlayStation 2. It's the second collection that they did. Taito Legends 2 for like $2.
I think I have one of those, but I don't remember which one.
So I figured can't go wrong. It's got like Puzzle Bobble 2 on it, a bunch of different Space Invaders, different takes on that, Dungeon Magic. What else? Some of the Darius games I think are on here.
Oh, I love the Darius games.
Yeah, so there you go. I'm not going to complain. I would have bought it. I would have paid $2 just for a Darius game.
Yeah.
Already good. So that's what I picked up. Oh, and one more thing that I forgot to mention I picked up a while ago, but I have been playing, is a certain Final Fantasy music game that I believe you like, Julian.
You know what? I was actually going to ask you about that this episode because I started finally playing it, because I bought it when I bought my 3DS, but I put in so many hours into the iPhone version that I kind of was burnt out. And so I just picked it up again this week, and I can't like, I've never heard you mention before. I feel like you should have bought that, like, day one.
I meant to, and I think I bought it, but it just ended up getting stuck in the backlog, and I just never got around to it. And I was looking for something to play while I was waiting for Bravely Default to come out, and I figured, well, this is a game that I can play for a while, put down, and pick back up without too much of a struggle, because it's a rhythm game. You know, like, I can come back, I can turn on Rock Band now and not be like, where did I leave off in this epic story? You know? I mean, I don't have to worry about that, or what sort of mechanics I was working, or what sort of strategy I had. No, I just have to tap on the screen and I'm good. So I figured that would be a good choice, and there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and I'm not sure how much of it is actually stuff I have to pay attention to and how much of it's pure nonsense. But there's like the leveling, and then there's the items, and then there's the stuff. There's just stuff, numbers everywhere. It's constantly earning things.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what I'm doing.
They're trying to give you a lot of like RPG, conceits, you know, to kind of like make you feel like you're kind of, you know, progressing and everything. But really, a lot of that stuff is for if you suck. You know, like if you're doing really badly, then like the items will come in handy because they'll like restore your hit points and you have some more, you know, time to stay in the fight. But honestly, until you get to the higher levels, that's not really a thing. I wish it was a little bit more accurate to like each game that you're playing, because, you know, if you aren't aware, like we're talking about Theatrhythm for 3DS, and, you know, you go through like each game in the series, and, you know, there's like selections of music. But when you get to like the battle themes, it's like a really traditional Final Fantasy with like your guys on the right, the monsters on the left. But
yeah, that's really cool. I love that a lot.
Except for the part where the monsters don't sync up to the game you're playing, and that's really frustrating. Where it's like,
I don't even notice.
I totally notice. I'm like, that's from Final Fantasy VI. I'm playing Final Fantasy III right now. Or what's that? You didn't think about that, Patrick?
No, but now it's gonna bug me.
Oh, it totally bugged me. Like,
same.
The other night I was playing Final Fantasy, I think V, and one of the enemies was a Banga from Final Fantasy XII with a rifle, and I was like, this is all wrong. Why do I know this better than you, Square Enix?
Yeah, come to think of it, I think I took on a Marlboro in like Final Fantasy 1. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, maybe I put it down for a while, so I'm just nostalgically remembering that, like, all the green pastures that I was running through as a chocobo.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing, is that, like, when you do like the field music, like the background scrolling is very specific to that game. Like, I was playing Final Fantasy VI, and you totally walk by Figaro Castle. And it's like, I wish that there was more detail like that throughout the game. And I really don't like the art style.
I don't like the way the characters look. They look like they were in clown makeup.
Yeah.
Kind of bugs me. But one of the things, just to what you were talking about, one of the things I noticed is I was doing, I think it was a field one in the original Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do that thing where if you go through the silver things and you nail them all, you go through a gold section and it's like a special event or whatever it's called.
Right.
And my character hopped on a chocobo. And there are no chocobos in the original Final Fantasy.
Well, and the thing is, they do the chocobo in every one.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
I hadn't played that far into it, so I wasn't quite sure if that was. So if you're on a field one and you do the special thing, it's always a chocobo.
Yeah, and I wish that it was that again was more specific, because like it'd be cool if like in Final Fantasy IV you were on a flying chocobo, because they introduced that in that one, right. Or maybe in one, even though it's not like mobile, but it'd be cool if there was a fat chocobo or something like that.
Or maybe it could be an airship, because that was the big deal in the original Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all sorts of things that like little touches that I feel that they're missing, and it's real frustrating for me.
That's what sequels are for.
Yeah, but I feel like they put, like, in here it's like they put it all out on the DLC, where it's like you can get all of the music that you would probably want.
Well, they could remix it.
Yeah, they love to do that.
They always do.
Yeah, and I buy them.
The Rhythm 1.5 remix.
Remix.
And I saw a couple of movies. I mean, if we're done with that.
Sure. Well, just one last little nitpick.
Oh, sure. Sure.
I like the fact that like they decided to go with like, the original like chip tunes for like the old NES games.
Oh yeah.
But because we didn't get Final Fantasy 2 or 3, for the NES over here, it really bugs me that like all the text is in Japanese when like they show them in the background.
Yeah.
Even for like Final Fantasy like 4, 5, and 6, it's like they didn't bother to like grab new footage for the localization, and it just feels lazy.
What are they saying?
Yeah, it's like that was the thing that they did for the 25th anniversary. Oh, that's what we got. So, it's still great though. I love that game.
It's fun. It's fun. It's exactly what I wanted right now, which is something that's fun, that I have something to do on the DS, and it kind of pulls me in, but it's not going to be something I can't put away once Bravely Default arrives in the mail. So it's going to be nice. And it'll be fun to pull back later when I need something to fill in a gap. So, watched a couple of movies. We watched the new Hobbit movie, Desolation of Smaug.
Nice. Love it.
And it's funny because we watched that and then we came home, and of course the kids are all fired up about Lord of the Rings now, so they wanted to watch the original movies again. So we watched, I think, the first one again, and holy cow, there are serious inconsistencies between the two movies now. Like, they have introduced... I don't mind them having fun with the story, because I understand they're making a movie based on a story, and I'm totally cool with that. Have fun with it. I kind of actually think it's really neat that Lord of the Rings has progressed to the point where people are putting their own spin on it. I think that's actually a really cool thing for a story to achieve, because look at how many other things we do that with. I mean, we constantly rework and retwist classic tales to make them more modern and more, just fun. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
But dude, in The Hobbit, like, they even introduced entire characters, like main characters that were not in the book entirely. Like Evangeline Lilly's character, I mean, it's great. She's great, and I'm glad she's in there. But it's just like, it's not the same at all.
Was she the elf?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like her. I think she's probably one of the best elves I've seen so far. Or elves. Elves?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, but one of the things is like Gandalf is the one who goes and discovers that the crypts... I'm sorry, I'm spoiling this. But the crypts for the 9 ring wraiths are empty. Mm-hmm. And then we went and watched the original one, and then there's that whole scene where he runs over to Saruman, and Saruman's the one who tells him, oh, by the way, the ring wraiths are back. And he's like, what? Oh my gosh, how is that possible? It's like, dude, you found their empty tombs now? They blew it all up? You ruined it?
Perhaps your mind is dulled from all that leaf.
Whatever.
In the book, he doesn't even go there, though. Like, he doesn't meet Radagast, and they don't go in the tombs or whatever to find...
No. I don't mind it being reworked in that respect. I just wish they had kept it consistent with the films, because one of the things, too, is you got to remember when Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, he didn't write it as a prequel to Lord of the Rings. He wrote it as a standalone story.
Mm-hmm.
So later on, when he wanted to write more stuff in that universe, he made the ring into something more than it was originally intended to be, so that he could keep going with the story. If you read The Hobbit, There's nothing about that ring being evil at all, just that it makes him invisible.
I thought that was just because Bilbo is a badass and Frodo kind of is flaky.
It's just, so there's... I just wish they didn't really destroy their own narrative. It's the same guy. Holy cow.
Yeah, it sounds to me like a classic example of not doing a lot of research and really going back to what you had made before and kind of just being like, oh, well, I kind of remember what I did, so let me just, build on that.
I'm with you there mostly with their remake or with their remixes of the story, Angelo, but the only one that I really kind of got bugged with was like the troll scene, because Bilbo kind of ends up looking like he can't really sneak around, and like one of the biggest attributes of a hobbit is that like they barely ever get caught, like when they don't want to get caught,
Mm-hmm.
And he's not supposed to get caught like that.
Well, Gandalf picks him because he's a burglar. That's the whole point. He didn't just stroll up and pick a random hobbit. He like picked him because he was good at whatever not being seen, I guess.
Yeah, he's good at stealing stuff if he wants to. But like...
Anyway, so yeah, they kind of made him a little bit more like a bumbling, charming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They also made they also made Gimli an alcoholic. So I mean, take your liberties, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
Wait, Gimli wasn't in it.
No,
wait, are you talking about Lord? Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm still on the Hobbit.
It's all right. So yeah, it's okay. It's fun. I will still say that it's fun regardless. If I can ignore all that, it's a fun movie to see. I just have a hard time ignoring all of it.
Dude, the song that they sing at Bilbo's place alone is like worth the price of admission.
That's really good. Yeah.
And the Mountains of Mist song, which I just adore.
Mm-hmm. We also
and that's
saw...
That's also, I think, not in the book. Sorry.
No, I think they actually wrote that one, which is weird because...
There was so much
Tolkien
singing in the books.
Are you sure?
Tons of singing in the books. Tons. Oh, well. But they also put this whole emphasis on the dwarves wanting to go home more than anything else, which is not what it was in The Hobbit. It was, we're dwarves and we want our gold. We like to mine and we like gold, so that's what we're going to go after. Didn't have as much to do with reclaiming their homeland, but, I actually don't even mind that adjustment because it gives it a more human element to the story, whereas, I don't know. I can't really relate to chasing off after big piles of gold, but I can relate to, if my home was taken away, I can relate to wanting that back. So, we also watched the new Hunger Games movie, Catching Fire, because my wife is addicted to that, and it was actually pretty good, I thought. So
don't spoil it, because I still want to see it.
Oh, okay.
But, I heard it's really good though.
I liked it better than the first one.
Yeah, I was hoping so, because I watched the first one and it came on Netflix, and I was like, this was a good movie, but it wasn't great. It was just good. But everybody I know who said the same thing said Catching Fire was like way better. So
yeah, and I was actually more comfortable watching Catching Fire because the first one was a bunch of kids killing each other, and that kind of made me physically ill a little bit. Even if it was all off screen, that made me super uncomfortable.
Is it true that this one's like more depressing? That's the only thing I heard.
It's more emotional. I will give you that one. And it's a lot more like the first one was. I think the first one was more of a setup, or we are going to make you hate this empire. We are going to make them disgusting, horrible people, and and it did a great job of that. I'll give it that. It also set up this romance that I could have done without. That was my biggest problem about that was here you've got this really intense thing going on with this struggle against these oppressed people and their megalomaniacal dictators, and you've got this contrasted with this really, really campy teenage romance stuff that is like it's ripped out of freaking that cheesy vampire crap that everybody liked for a while.
It was really forced though. Like that was really my biggest gripe too, because I was like, really, like that did not need to be there. Like, it would have been cool, if he had a crush on her but she didn't like him back. Like I would have been perfectly fine with that because then you get to empathize with Peter's character more. But then they just kind of had to throw that in there. I was like, okay, that was totally pointless.
Yeah. I'll just say that is handled much better in the second movie and leave it at that.
Good.
But I don't want to spoil a whole lot more because if you haven't seen it yet, I would be more than happy to go into a better discussion on it on another podcast, or not. We could just leave it alone. But I will say that I was actually pretty happy when I walked out of that one, and I wasn't so much happy with the first one at all. So, all right, that's that. I think I talked long enough.
Yeah, I feel that I have to hit the wrap it up button when we start talking about friggin' catching fire.
I'm done. I'm done.
Patrick, you texted me and told me that you were at a LAN party, which your autocorrect so eloquently corrected to land party, and I was kind of confused at first until you corrected yourself. Yeah. How does that happen? It's 2014. I want to know.
So, like, my roommate has, like, family, like, an extensive network of cousins, and they, like, all like are really close to each other, and so they all have friends too, and they've been doing like this yearly LAN party thing for I don't know how long, but he says like, you know, as long as they've remembered, like, to play video games with each other. So it's been going on for a while, and they always talk about doing it more than once a year, but this year was like the first year that I got invited, and you know, there's only so much room in a basement, but like they fill it up. And they have like extra stations and stuff, and like multiple accounts of the games that like some people might not play but they love, like MechWarrior Online, which I got into. And yeah, like they just have like this big email list and like pick one weekend and then everybody gets to go. I didn't get to go the whole weekend because on Friday night I got to go to Blue Man Group for the first time, and their new show is like really topical and hilarious. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't. I've just seen videos of them, and I'm a percussionist, so I always love that crap.
Yeah,
they scare me.
I love their ties to video games now too, with like the Nintendo Direct videos that they pop up on every once in a while. I don't know if they still do, but they used to when I watched that. But yeah, anyway, that LAN party, man, it was like so much video gaming and barely any sleep. Like, I fell asleep with a piece of gum in my mouth. Yeah.
Nice. So you're saying you did it right?
Yeah. And like every couple hours we had to do a shot. We had like larceny, and then like on Sunday somebody brought in like this really nice bourbon that was actually made by Jim Beam, which was kind of shocking. But
so what besides MechWarrior, like what type of games were you guys playing?
So let's see, we started off when I got there with Battlefield 1942 and Pirates in Battlefield 1942. Like, that Pirates is like a mod that lets you play as pirates. After that, we played a lot of StarCraft 2 because it's got free elements in it now, and so even if the people didn't have it, they got to play like the arcade style games. So we played like the StarCraft Soccer, we played like StarCraft Tower Defense games. There were all these different types of games that you can kind of play. There was even like micro tournament, which is like we had 8 people in one round, and then it goes down like the winner of the micro-ing match. They give you a couple of guys of each type, gets to go to the semifinals and then the finals. So that was like really fun, and actually kind of like StarCraft on like a mini level, because they could give you like probably two three different types of guys and make you fight against each other in like a little area instead of like a 15 to 20 minute match. So we played a lot of those, and I was no good at it. But then when we played like an actual game of StarCraft, I was like double overall the next person.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the only game I was really good at.
So was there any Dota-ing going on at this party?
Yeah, some people Dota'd like a lot, and then like other people were just like, fuck that.
So did you sample the Dota? Did you snort the Dota, Patrick?
You know what? I didn't. They were like, oh, you don't want to get into that right now. There's so much to learn. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, there is, and I'm kind of glad that you didn't snort the Dota, because I would feel like once you do that, we're just going to lose you forever.
Yeah, Dota is kind of something that's pretty infectious.
Yeah, so. Well, I never really understood.
I think it depends on who you play with, though, because, like, you know, my brother, he introduced me to League of Legends over the holiday, and, you know, I played a little bit of it, and it is fun. Like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm not hooked on it yet, and I'm going to say that's because my, you know, friends that I hang out with aren't playing it. But, you know, it's still fun to dabble with, though, just to see.
Yeah, I never got into those or an MMO yet because I was scared of, like, the getting hooked on it thing, but that's all going to change with Final Fantasy XIV.
A Realm Reborn. Yeah, you're excited. You've been, like, texting me lately, like, you went from not really that interested to, oh, no, I'm totally getting this, to, yeah. I got this, to, I'm building a party. I'm like, whoa, what's happened?
Last 2 weeks, I don't know, when I was at the LAN party and I watched like a 10-minute video of like the story of Final Fantasy XIV, like leading up to this, it's like included in the bonus DVD of the collector's edition. I was like blown away with like Eorzea and like the entire world, and I was like, this is happening. It's way better than Elder Scrolls Online to me. It's like more unique, more things going on in it that I wouldn't see anywhere else. And I feel like, I don't know, I can't get like the Final Fantasy experience in an MMO anywhere else. And I wanted to play something that was like, had a big track record of being successful, and I didn't want it to be World of Warcraft, because it seemed to be playing Blizzard games. Well, I guess always Final Fantasy 2, but not so much. Like compared to the multiplayer I've played, I think, in Blizzard games. But
there's also like like Blizzard has a pretty cohesive art style throughout all their games, where you know, Final Fantasy, you get like kind of a different flavor every time, even if it's zipper flavored.
Yeah, I feel like I'm witnessing something new and becoming part of like a new world, rather than like being one of the many World of Warcraft people that just, you know, dies and leaves their remains there. But it's also what, like, the second most successful MMO franchise, Final Fantasy XI. So I think anyway, like, it's been going on like as long as WoW, right?
It like, as far as money goes, I would say probably like it's way distant. But as far as retaining subscribers, like, Final Fantasy XI is definitely probably, you know, one of the more successful ones. Like, I think it's probably like that and EverQuest, which is still kicking. Because I think 11, you know, at its peak had like about like 1 million or 2, which isn't, you know, that's nothing compared to like the 15 million that WoW topped out at. But, you know, when you see like that 15 million dwindling down to like 10 million now, where Final Fantasy 11 is still around 1 to 2 million, you know, and they've said that Final Fantasy 14, since the relaunch, is, you know, right around there, you know, that's profitable for them. And they have said on record that 11 is their most profitable video game, period.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, so that's why I'm part of that now.
Or you will be, to be specific, because I think you're wanting to get the PS4 version.
Yeah, well, I got the PS3 version, and I get a free upgrade, so I paid only $32 for the collector's edition instead of $60.
Nice.
Ooh,
nice.
Yeah.
But do you get that fat chocobo mount?
Yeah, I do.
Oh man, I kind of want to get. Well, yeah, because I get a free copy of it as well, but I kind of need to buy the game because it's me, and I kind of want that collector's edition because I want that fat chocobo mount.
Oh, you didn't buy the collector's edition when you first got it?
No, I've had to kind of scale back on that, and I'm a little upset with Square Enix's release catalog or release date schedule this year, because all of their games are front loaded within like about 6 weeks of each other. And, it's like, I would like to buy those $80 editions of Final Fantasy, Lightning Returns and Final Fantasy X HD and Final Fantasy XIV for PS4, but I just can't do that in a span of 6 weeks. It's just not happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The collector's editions for Final Fantasy XI are, like, going through the roof online now. Or Final Fantasy XIV, the original version also. I was looking at them, and they were like $190 already.
That's
for like
cray-cray.
A physical copy, and I was like, okay, I'm going digital for $32. I still get the items, so.
Yeah, that's the thing is that I don't know, I didn't really pay attention, but it felt like a lot of the collector's edition stuff was digital stuff anyway, which is why I ended up like downgrading to just the regular edition, because like I'm paying all this extra money for stuff that isn't, even stuff that I can hold. Because I think the only physical thing was a soundtrack.
Like a furry bobblehead of a chocobo or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I do like little plushy things.
Or like a Moogle that has the thing on it, the big red button that's on the top of him. You can flick it, and it's like a Slinky or something.
I always wanted a plush Moogle from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, because it's the fattest Moogle they've ever designed. It's so adorable.
Mm. Yeah. Well, after that, I got back to playing more games. I was even playing games when like people were talking to each other sometimes, because I got there late, so I wasn't like as winded by the second day, because I got there early the second day. So I played like Poppy Yo, because I got it in the Humble Indie Bundle, and people were like coming over my shoulder like, what is this? I'm like, I don't really know. I just started playing it because I got it for $5, but I heard it was great. And there were some pretty fun puzzles that it doesn't really explain to you too much. You just kind of intuitively know it. It's what I liked about it. There's just things on the wall that light up, and you kind of like pull them out and twist them, and there's houses that get on legs, and you can move them around in order to jump to the next portion of the map. But it doesn't tell you anything really, so you just have to figure that out. It's like laid on there for a silver platter for you, and it just feels like you're really learning something. So I like that one. After that, we got back into more multiplayer. Played Sanctum 2 a lot, and I ended up buying it on the weekend deal when it was like $279 for like $25 worth of Sanctum 2 content. It's like Castle Crasher, Defenders. I don't know. What is that game? I didn't play it that much, but it's like a mix. It's a hybrid of an RPG or like a tower defense game and a first-person shooter at the same time. So there's waves of characters, and you have to set down your towers and like defend a core. Then when you say you're ready, they come out, and you also get to shoot them with your weapons and like throw down other towers and stuff. So basically, you're putting down things from a first-person point of view. Do you know those kind of games?
They sound familiar. Like, it kind of reminds me almost of Monday Night Combat.
Oh, the other game is Dungeon Defenders. It's like Dungeon Defenders.
That one, the name sounds familiar, but
I've heard of that too. I haven't played it though.
Well, it's a lot of fun if you got like multiplayer friends to play with, because there's no single player to speak of, but your character levels up like an MMO basically, and you get to, like an RPG. You get to add points, and you become better at shooting, like more damaging and everything like that. And like based on the characters that you kill or your buildings kill during each wave, you get more some sort of units. I forget what they were, in order to upgrade each tower that can be upgraded to level 4, but also that can be put into yourself. So you kind of have to figure out what needs to be upgraded and what doesn't. And the only problem is that it was free to play, so if you didn't buy things, you didn't have a lot of the weapons necessary in order to get past a certain wave, because they get so powerful after a while that you need to be leveled up. Your character only levels up with experience points at the end of the round, so it's got like a mix of 3 different genres, and it makes it kind of unique.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, we played a lot more, though. I'm just going to rattle them off, and we could talk about whatever you want, because it'll get really long. Mech Warrior Online, Torchlight 2 Hardcore Mode, The Witcher 2, Left 4 Dead 2. Then on my own, I also beat Devil May Cry on hard or Nephilim mode, and played up to level 10 in Tales of Xillia. So what you got, boys?
So, I mean, but this wasn't all the LAN party, was it?
Except for the last two, they were.
Wow, okay, because I've always been jealous of the whole, like, that I wasn't part of, like, the whole PC master race, like, in the 90s when LAN was really blowing up, because I feel that the people who have those stories to tell, you know, like they kind of forge, like, experiences and bonds with people that, you know, I didn't have because I just didn't do computer gaming back then. But I'm kind of surprised that you're kind of listing off, like, a lot of single-player games at this LAN party.
Those were like in betweeners, like I like watched someone else play and like we were playing like together or something like that, like we switched off or something. But these were like totally people like that, and they were like people who like started with like the original EverQuest and like grew up with like D&D board games. Like there was an entire wall of like Dungeons and Dragons stuff and like Dragonstone and everything. There's all the old Baldur's Gate games and Icewind Dale games and stuff like that, and even like before that, like the precursors, and it was just like a wall of like his fantasy history. So like those people, I think I got into their, you know, dwindling club or whatever, because it's not what it used to be. But
I'm still so jealous. Like I'm so hungry to be around my own kind, and like it's such a solitary life out here.
You would have fit in perfectly. Like if you can come up next year, we would love to have you. It would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. That goes for anyone. Basement. Don't feel left out at home.
How many times did someone say, "Where are the Cheetos?"
Man, we had so many good snacks. We like all threw in on pizza, and some people even brought like extra pizza. We had probably like 25 to 30 pizzas stacked up just when I got there.
Nice.
And yeah, then those were all thrown out, and like the guy the next day brought in 16 pizzas that were all eaten. So then we had like tons of chips, tons of like pops and like sodas, everything you'd want there, and a bunch of different dips that weren't even supposed to go with the Doritos that I dipped them in, but like I don't know, it was so junky and great.
Well, that's how LAN parties are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, anything else, Patrick?
No.
All right. Well, we'll move on to JD quickly because I haven't been up to much since the last recording. I've been really cozy with my 3DS though, which is it's kind of funny that you were saying, Angelo, how you were kind of playing Theat Rhythm to kind of get ready for Bravely Default, because I'm totally doing the same thing. Because like I kind of want to stay in the habit of like playing my 3DS regularly, even though I'm probably not going to crack open Bravely Default right away because Square, in their infinite wisdom, decided to release Lightning Returns the week after. And I feel I'm more concerned about spoilers on that one than I am Bravely Default. So I kind of feel like I need to like truck through Lightning Returns as quickly as possible. Even though, well, I guess we can talk about that really quickly. I played the demo. I think most of us played the demo.
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of funny because I was talking to people on Twitter where they was like, well, started playing the demo and I didn't know what was going on, so I immediately went back to Final Fantasy 13 and started over, and I'm like, you know what? I actually played and enjoyed both of those games, and I had no idea what was going on. Like, that demo is so bad. It's so bad. Like as far as being like a representation of what's going on in that game, like, none of it makes any sense. It's a whole bunch of story taken out of context that even as someone who knew what was going on in the last two games, I'm like, wait, so all of a sudden they're immortal? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't...
Yeah, like, I'm really not digging this angsty snow, and then, you know, lightning is like the second coming of Jesus or something. Like, it's so weird. It's like, I was so thrown off by that demo, but I liked playing it, but I was like, this story is just completely gone out the window.
Sounds just like the third Matrix where Neo's the one, you know?
Yeah, but at least that at least makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, it did.
But because they were building to that, but here it's like they're just like, hey, Lightning's cool, let's make her godly.
Yeah, and it's like there's this person who looks like her sister, but it's not her sister.
Yeah, I was confused about that too. I was like, where's Sarah? Like, did something happen? I'm not even gonna ask.
Yeah, and I don't I know just from reading a preview that apparently because Lightning has Hope as her contact, but all of a sudden he's back to being a kid from Final Fantasy 13, where in 13-2 he was a grown man, and I don't know. I still want to play that game. I think the battle system is pretty interesting. I have concerns about the whole schemata system just because, and we have a preview feature up on the site that you should check out, but my concern is that Lightning is such a stoic, serious character, and it just doesn't seem right when she's wearing really fan servicey outfits and or some of the more ridiculous ones where she's got straight up little dangly bobs, bouncing off of her outfit, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem right.
When does that happen? She's in the new one?
Yeah, in the new one, it's kind of combine the paradigm system from 13 with the dress sphere system from Final Fantasy X-2, where the outfit that you wear indicates your class.
Oh, I saw that changing and stuff. I was like, how are you doing that in battle? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's the Red Mage equivalent, she totally looks like some sort of disco dancer, but all decked out in red. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. But I'm still looking forward to it. I just think that as demos go, that was a really bad look at the game because you get a good 5-minute long cutscene, which I watched twice because they basically show you that cutscene with music playing, and I thought it was just the intro to the demo.
Yeah,
so
they did the same thing for me. I had the same experience.
Yeah, so I wasn't thrilled about that. And then I think that the actual gameplay part of it is over so quickly that you don't get a really good sense for the battle system either. So yeah.
You know what the best part about that was?
That you didn't play it?
I was gonna say the 16-bit video thing that they made to catch you up on the story. Did you see that?
Yes, I did, and
I think it's amazing.
It is amazing, but it's also so frustrating for me because with that and I kind of defended this because I really enjoyed it, but Final Fantasy ATB for iPhone, which was derided as this terrible cash grab, but I really had a lot of fun with it. But it proves to me that Square Enix still has very talented sprite artists working for them. And it's I would love to see them go back to that at least just once. Give me a 3DS Final Fantasy that's, in the vein of the 16-bit games. Yeah. Which kind of brings me to the fact that I finished A Link Between Worlds since we last recorded it. And, it's funny because I was dinging them for kind of trading on nostalgia, but at the same time, I would totally love for Square Enix to trade on that nostalgia and give me a new old game like that. But, yeah.
I think A Link Between Worlds is becoming one of those games for me that I'm just not going to beat the final boss of. So I don't want it to end.
Oh, okay. I was going to say because it was hard because the last dungeon was such a cakewalk.
No, it'll be easy.
The music was so good.
Wait, what, Angelo?
I said the music was so good. Did you hear what it was doing with the music as you were going through the dungeon?
Not really.
Can I ruin this? Okay, as you play that dungeon, it starts off with this one melody, and then you get to that one part where there's a door with the 4 sections on it, and you have to beat a boss to open up each section of that door. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Every time you beat one of the bosses, it adds another layer to the music, and it gets more and more epic. And then when you beat all 4 of the bosses, it's just this crazy, over-the-top, bombastic anthem. It was one of my favorite parts of that game.
I totally hadn't noticed that.
You didn't notice that?
No.
Oh.
I was going to say, maybe it's because I played Devil May Cry so much that I forgot about it because I got so good at Devil May Cry and just got my first triple S ranking on a level. But, yeah, it's going to be like Final Fantasy VII, I think. And, well, I don't know. Is it worth it? Should I just keep it, unfinished?
I mean, I think that, the final boss is actually a pretty cool final boss battle. Like, I think he's probably the best boss in the game. In a game where I felt that the bosses weren't up to Zelda standards. I thought he was pretty great. And, it's kind of like, man, we talked a lot of Final Fantasy, but it's kind of like Final Fantasy 1, where, like, all the story is, like, loaded at the end, where, that's where you get, like, all of the exposition dumped at you, and it's actually kind of interesting.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I would go through it.
You got to.
But yeah, I really love that game. It's definitely, I was surprised at how easy it was, but also I liked how, because they were, building off of like a Super Nintendo template, the fact that it was concise. Because this is only the third Zelda game that I've finished, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that the other two were the first Zelda and Link's Awakening, because those are also very concise Zelda games. So I would kind of like more of that from that franchise. So if they do a Link Between Worlds 2, I'm totally down for that.
Come and share this painting with me. Unveiling of me, the magician that never fails.
But, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. JD, I know you had some games to talk about. We'll kind of go through this quickly because you did something that I'm very jealous of as, someone who kind of toyed around with the idea of making games. You made a game.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I'll get to that. I'll run through my games really quick because most of them you guys have talked about already. But, there's another piece of consumption that I did want to talk about briefly as well. But, pretty much the first, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 1.5 as well. I'm a little bit farther than where your wife is, Angelo. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Liberation HD for review, and I'm at the end of that as well. Like, I think I got maybe a few more, sections of that. But, as someone who is really down on Assassin's Creed 3, I really have to give that game a little bit of credit because something about it, I don't know if it's the character or the story or something about it has kind of pulled me back in. So I'm kind of more curious to play Assassin's Creed 4 than I was before I played Liberation. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, but maybe it's just because I, am intrigued by Aveline's whole arc, or maybe it's just because they left out a lot of the present day stuff. Like, it's pretty much all taking place in, that past time. There's no present day, storyline bogging it down. There's a little bit, but it's not overwhelming. And I don't know, something about the combat feels a little bit better too, even though it's still a buggy mess. But, I still enjoyed enough to, want to give Assassin's Creed 4 a try eventually. But, yeah, hopefully I'll have a review on that soon. Sorry.
So I actually didn't play that one because I heard that it was like bad from IGN. So
yeah, I don't know why. Like, a lot of people gave it bad scores, but I definitely don't think it's that bad. Like, I don't know. It's I played 2 Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed 3, and a little bit of the first one, and it's not much worse than it's definitely not my least favorite. So. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But anyway, so what was I saying? Yeah, so there's that. I've been playing a little bit of A Link Between Worlds. Like at the same thing, I'm in the final dungeon, and I've been kind of just saying, oh man, like I don't want this to be over, and I've been kind of just leaving it there because I only have one more heart, 4 more heart pieces to get all the hearts, and I'm like, should I just do that first? But I'm like, I just kind of want to see the ending. But I've decided I'm just going to beat the game. So between today and tomorrow, I'll probably finish that. I've been raising a lot of Pokemon and Pokemon X. Like that game is way more addictive than I expected it to be at this age. I feel like I was mentioning some game and I forgot what it was, but it doesn't matter. Oh, well, yeah, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I did briefly want to talk about a couple of things. One, I'll just talk about one of them. I don't know if you watched the DC animated movies at all, like the DC animated originals, like like Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, or
I was just surprised that new one was like. Sorry, I thought you were asking us a question.
Well, I was asking if any of you guys have seen any of those, because there's a whole bunch of them now.
Yeah. I've only seen Under the Red Hood, which was great.
Yeah. I was surprised that they put like the new Justice League movie at PG-13 because like that makes like half of their audience probably like not able to see it, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is like these movies have been getting crazy. Like I've been keeping up with them pretty much since the beginning, and I've seen almost every one that they've come out with, and like that's easily one of the best things DC has going for them right now, just because like. They're adapting these comic book stories into some really cool, movies, and not all of them are great, but a lot of them, especially recently, have been like really cool. The Flashpoint Paradox in particular, like that one was just like amazing. And when you watch that movie, like I kind of appreciate that they go for the PG-13, audience, just because you see the superheroes act how you would expect them to act. It's not all, it's not super corny or anything, and. You'll see death, you'll see blood, you'll see, people cursing each other out sometimes, and it's, I don't know, for me at least, it's cool. Sure, the little kids have their cartoons for that reason. It's not like they were watching the cartoons that were for them anyway. That's why shows like Young Justice got canceled or whatever. But I over the weekend, not this weekend, I think the last weekend, I watched Justice League War, which is the new one that just came out. And I really enjoyed that. I recommend it. It adapts the first main arc in the Justice League comic book. Only difference is that instead of Aquaman, they put Shazam in there. But
poor Aquaman.
But the thing is, when you watch the movie, you'll understand why. It's not like they're crapping on Aquaman. I think they're just saving him because. The way that it's not really a spoiler since the comics, but the way that they end that movie leads into that whole Atlantis war. So they're probably going to introduce Aquaman as a more frontal character in that movie instead of just having him as a part of the team here. And that way you get Shazam into the mix without having to worry about making a third movie just for him. But it was really good, and it's interesting with this movie because previous to this movie, all the movies aside from the Batman and Superman movies have been from just individual universes or individual stories. But this is the first one where it's building off of a continuous universe. So the next movie that's coming out, The Son of Batman, which is pretty much about Batman and Damian Wayne. Is going to be, that Batman is the same Batman from the first, from this movie. So it's kind of interesting that they pretty much have the Avengers thing going on in their animated movie line. So if you're worried about what's going on with Batman and Superman, the Ben Affleck movie or whatever, just watch the animated ones and they'll probably get your DC fix there.
But man, you also got to check out like the new Detective Comics because it's number 27, which I think marks number 1,000 overall for Batman.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so like it was like it's an $8 mega sized anniversary issue, and I haven't read it yet because I saved it for the end of my comics, and it's been out for a couple weeks, but like it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I was going to check that out. I saw it at my job. It's just that I didn't get an opportunity to read it. Or if it wasn't that, it was a different Detective Comics, but I saw a few of them.
I've actually been catching up on some of their miniseries, though. Like Rogue Rebellion is one that I had not read up until now, and I'm like at issue 4, and it has a lot of like Gotham in it as well, and you get like so much more characterization of like Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy and like different rogues who are around the city who you just didn't even know about before that make it so worth it. So there's a lot of cool stuff I think going on with Batman.
Yeah, so other than that, so what Julian was alluding to earlier, a couple of weeks, about 2 weeks ago, between the 24th and the 26th, I attended the Global Game Jam. That was at the Polytech in New York City, so pretty much the whole, I just stayed over a friend's house and commuted every day. But pretty much, for those who don't know, the Global Game Jam is like a yearly event that they have across the country and even, other parts of the world where, just a whole bunch of indie developers or, just anyone interested in making games gets together, and they have an opportunity to get in groups and, you have 3 days pretty much to make a game. And at the end of the whole thing, you present the game, and it's usually based on a theme. So this year we had a theme. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it had to do with perspective. If you give me a second, I can pull it up for you guys. But yeah, so pretty much I found out about it just through a different event that I went to at NYU. Just like at the Game Center at NYU, they have these events every now and then where they do presentations about game design, and I do want to make games eventually one day, so I attend those whenever I can. And I found out about this game jam, and I thought it would be pretty cool to go. So I went, and it was a really awesome experience. Like, it was one of the most fun things I've done ever, even though it was just a lot of work. But it was really dope. But yeah, pretty much like that. I can't remember what the theme was off the top of my head. I just know it had to do with perspective. Like, you can only see what, I don't know. It was weird. It was worded weird, so it's hard to remember. But pretty much I got in a group with 5 other guys, 3 programmers, another designer, and a sound guy, and we decided to make this little puzzle game. Well, we ended up calling it Anaglyph. Kind of like like the 3D effect. Pretty much what we did for our game was we made a simple puzzle game with mazes, where pretty much the goal was to use your take your character, get a key, and get to the door, and once you get to the door, you clear the level. The catch is it's co-op, so 2 people will be playing at the same exact time. Now, player 1 would have a set of blue 3D glasses, and player 2 would have a set of red 3D glasses. And the way we designed the maze, when you look at the maze, you can't see your own maze, but you can see the other player's maze, and vice versa. So you have to constantly go back, talk back and forth and direct them how to get through their maze, and they're directing you how to get through your maze, and you have a time limit, and there's certain stipulations throughout each level where you have to progress together. And it was pretty difficult to design and stuff like that, but we got it working, and it's really cool just because in a way I felt like Nintendo, because we were working with a weird gimmick that isn't necessarily viable in every setting, but it was really cool, and we got a good response. Like, a lot of people liked our game, and we got nominated for best game design, which was pretty dope, because that was like this is the first game I've ever made at all. Even though I didn't do the programming, I worked on the concept and did some level design and stuff like that, and it was really cool just to see people's reactions to playing it. I'll try to link some pictures or something in the show notes or whatever, but yeah, it was really fun, and I had a blast doing that. The people I worked with are really talented, and it was definitely something I'd do again. And on top of that, you get to collaborate with a whole bunch of other people, and I got to see a whole bunch of other people making some crazy games as well. And some of them are, much more small scale, and then you got others that get really ambitious. And, I did play one which was kind of cool. It was really short, but it kind of had this strange plot twist that completely caught me off guard. So pretty much, it was a game called Catch the Bus or something like that, right? So you're playing as this regular guy, and it's a simple platformer, and you're going to catch the bus, and everything's all innocent. You're running after the bus, and once you catch the bus, it kind of pans out, and it's that the screen of you catching the bus ends up on the front of this newspaper, and it's you just you're a terrorist the whole time, and you just kind of killed everybody, and it became this whole national crisis. And it was kind of weird because I was wait, I kind of had a jaw drop moment for a second. I was what? The whole time, I was, I thought I was just playing a simple platformer, and I just blew up, a whole bunch of people and became the enemy of the state or something. But, people do interesting things to try to, make some kind of statement or just make a fun game. And in our case, we made a fun game, and a lot of people liked it, and it had that couch co-op element where you kind of just laughing and yelling at your partner or whatever. But yeah, that was really cool. I would definitely do that again. I'm hoping to do that, sooner than later.
No, but I gotta say, JD, that concept is kind of genius. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Space Team for iOS.
Yeah.
But then with this, that I'm legitimately impressed. It's a very, very good idea.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna act like that was I came up with that idea. I pretty much helped refine it. One of my partners, his name, we called him Rocky, but he pretty much thought of the idea. And once we proved the concept that would actually work on a regular monitor, where all we had to do is get the colors right or whatever. But once we figured the concept, I did help refine the levels and come up with easy ways to introduce the player to the mechanics and stuff like that. But I don't know how they came up with that, but it was a really cool idea, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Excellent. Well done, and congratulations on your first of what will hopefully be many projects.
Hopefully.
And I think on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a little break.
Yes.
And then come back and talk about some love. So stay put.
Jealousy's green, but when love fixes its shade, it demands to be saved. Oh, the red stroke, passions ungazed, thundering moments of tenderness rage. Oh, the red stroke, fearlessly drawn, burning the night.
And we're back, and we're going to get all mushy here. I am a, self-confessed hopeless romantic, and I like the sappy stuff. Even though around this time of year I get really down because I'm lonely and single, and when this episode, this is coming out a year or a week before, but while you guys, and I say, listeners are probably out with your dates and stuff like that, I will be sitting at home doing my usual, rewatching Closer and Chasing Amy and kind of just hating life. So yeah. But I am very romantic, and I thought it'd be a fun time to talk about romance in video games. This kind of goes way back for me, even back to the 16-bit days. It's kind of funny because I still have my original cartridges for some of my RPGs, so you can go back and look at save files where I have changed the names of the characters that fall in love to me and whoever I had a crush on at the time. So it's almost like this little sad time capsule of my teenage years through Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI.
That's got to be bizarre.
It is. It's kind of funny though because I had sold my copy of Secret of Mana to our store. I had traded it in, and I started to regret it. And then one day, like one of our regular customers, Derek, was trading in a whole bunch of games, and he traded in a copy of Secret of Mana. And I was like, oh man, I really miss Secret of Mana. I'm going to go ahead and rebuy that copy. And it was in perfect shape. It still had the baggie and like the like cartridge protector, just the way that I keep them. Oh, wow. And so I brought it home and everything. And I didn't pop it in for probably a year or two. But when I popped it back in, I was looking at the save files and saw that the main character's name was Julian and the female character's name was Phoebe. And I was like, that's totally my copy of Secret of Mana.
Oh, wow.
So it came back home.
That's neat.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so, I definitely have a soft spot for, romantic interests in games. And I thought we'd just take some time, and it's not going to be like a really in-depth thing or anything, but just to kind of highlight some of the more interesting romances that we've encountered personally in video games. And I kind of thought we could just kind of go around the room, and it'll probably just springboard into stuff. So I think I'll just kick it off. And it's kind of, I don't know, it keeps coming back to me, and even though it wasn't that great of a game, but I want to replay it just to experience this love story again. And that would be Eddie Riggs and Ophelia from Brutal Legend, which I think was just a fantastic little love story where, you've got this kind of cheesehead, roadie who just lives for rock and roll and stuff and is kind of thick, but from the moment he sees Ophelia, he's in love, and you can see it in his eyes, and it's a testament to how well Double Fine does their facial animation, that everything that he's thinking, you can totally see on that face. And it just progresses throughout the game, and there was definitely a kind of melancholy turn where they end up on opposite sides of the battlefield. But it's still just this great little love story, and if you finally finish the game, there's just this really neat little moment where all you have to do is you go up to like one of the monuments in the Rock of Ages type landscape, and you can just kind of chill with her for a little bit. And I just thought that was a neat little touch after you finish the game. And I just always keep coming back to that for some reason. Like, it really stuck with me. That game came out in 2009. I haven't played it since, but I always remember how much I enjoy the interaction with those two characters. Every time that I do a monologue, everybody's just like, stop talking.
I thought the characters were charming. I never finished the game. So, because once I discovered that it was not, in fact, the game that I played in the demo, I got really frustrated with it.
Yeah.
That really burned me up a little bit, which is a shame because Jack Black. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like, I could see where it was going, like, right out the gate. It just seemed really predictable to me, too. I mean, but the characters were nice. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily so much a great romance. Again, keep in mind, I didn't play the whole game. As it is just really two great characters put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I would probably posit that is such an integral part of a great romance, though.
Fair enough.
Is having characters that are likable enough that you want to see them get together. I mean, I just rewatched Music and Lyrics recently with Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore, and like that movie completely lives and dies on how likable they are separately and how wonderful they are as an item. That, I mean, it's totally formulaic and you know where it's going to go, like you said, Angelo, like from, frame one, but because of the characters, it really draws you in the whole time. Plus Drew Barrymore. So, I'm going to go around the room. Someone pick it up.
All right. I've got, top 5. Is that cool?
Sure. I mean, if you, I thought we could kind of,
I ranked them.
Okay. Give us a ranking.
Okay. Number 5, Gordon Freeman and Alex Vance. Number 4, Link and Zelda. Number 3, Chrono and Marla. Number 2, Wonder and Mona from Shadow of the Colossus. And number 1, Nathan Drake, Elena Fisher, and Chloe Fraser, because Chloe Fraser is actually seductive and sexual in the Uncharted series. There's a little going on. Nathan is not, he's no god. He's got some dirty thoughts, and Chloe might be hotter, but besides the point. And then on top of it all, above all the Uncharted's and Shadow of the Colossi of the world, is Trevor and the chick that he kidnaps in Grand Theft Auto 5.
I find it so amazing that most of your list is comprised of mutes. It's like, how does love bloom on a battlefield when all that Chrono or Gordon Freeman can say is
and wonder.
Link could just go, yeah.
I think that love is...
I did want to ask you, which Link and Zelda, though? Because I feel like there's certain Link and Zelda combinations that have better romance than others. Like, the Skyward Sword one in particular, I felt was a lot better put together in terms of the Link-Zelda dynamic. But, like, in comparison to Twilight Princess, where it's kind of just there, because it has to be,
Yeah, I would definitely go with that one out of all of them, but I like the versatility that sometimes they're not even lovers, they're just friends, like, that they meet in, like, all these different worlds, and, like, it's sort of like Cloud Atlas-y, where it's about the multiverse and them coming together in all these different kinds of situations. They always seem to find each other, so it's kind of that really makes it for me, but if I had to pick one game, it would be Skyward Sword, and if I had to pick a second, probably Ocarina, because she fights back at the end.
You're both wrong. The actual correct answer is the animated series. Well, excuse me, princess.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, I like your thing, Patrick, the idea of them kind of finding each other through all of these different universes and stuff like that. Like, as much as I loathe the whole concept of Nintendo, like, mashing the entire series into some sort of, timeline that they didn't actually concoct originally, there would be something cool to see, like, some sort of, like, anniversary video that they did where it was them finding each other through all these different worlds and time periods and stuff like that.
Yeah. You know what? That's why I put Chrono and Mario just one above them, because they actually explicitly do, like, travel to different time periods together, So that, I think, puts it a little bit above Zelda and Link. Same kind of lines of what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, and I still feel that in the, like, Half-Life 2 that Gordon Freeman isn't actually a human. He's just like a turret with a hand, like a human hand on it, and Alex Vance is actually just kind of insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, the grandpa actually comes out and says, like, when are you guys gonna have kids? So
yeah. But see, but there's the thing is that, like, they can't upset Alex, so they all have to play along. No, I'm sorry, that actually takes away from her character, because she's, like, the best part of that whole franchise.
Yeah, she's the best character in that franchise, because she's the only character in that franchise, really.
There's some others, but I mean, she stands as, like, a legitimately great.
She's probably the one with the most depth, at least.
Yeah. Then I guess I picked Wonder because Shadow of the Colossus is a story that, like, goes beyond words and just has that magical touch to it that he gives his life away for her to live, and but the Uncharted series, if I had to pick one story, I was just thinking, like, I would want that to be my romance, I would pick that over the other romances, any of them that I could think of in a video game.
Because you want to be torn between the bookish blonde and the buxom brunette?
Oh, yeah, dude. And I want to save them in, like, crazy locales. And, just get all Tough Mudder dirty on it. And but I think the most well-written one actually is Trevor and the chick that he kidnaps in Grand Theft Auto 5, man. I don't know if you got that far yet, but, like, he legitimately hates the guy who he kidnaps his wife, and, like, as she's, like, being kidnapped, they, like, fall in love together, and, like, by the end, when he's bringing her back because the ransom's paid or whatever it is, he's, like, calling her up and going, like, I miss you! It's, like, the only moment of weakness that he has in the entire story. It's great.
I'll probably just YouTube that clip because I'm not delving into Grand Theft Auto 5 anymore.
Yeah, I kind of with you right there, Julian. Like, I kind of just don't care enough about it to go back to it. I'm sorry, world, but Grand Theft Auto's not my thing.
That's okay. Yeah. I just think their characters are actually, like, they have so many...
Yeah, like, I like the characters a lot. It's just, well, that's another discussion.
I just wish so many more places would make them feel as real as Rockstar can make them feel,
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, because, I feel that they with 5, they got to that point where now it's too real. Where... Yeah. But yeah, JD, I know what you're gonna say, but I'm right there. I'm prepared to talk about this. So,
yeah,
I know
go
ahead.
I know you know what I'm gonna say, but before I do say that, I do kind of want to go back to what Patrick was talking about with Nathan Drake and not Chloe. Is it Elena?
Yeah.
Because I know I was thinking that, but I actually know an Elena, so I don't know if I was mixing the two up. But either way, I really do feel like that was well done just because of... Well, I feel like Chloe kind of helped that relationship because, Chloe was kind of like the relationship you'd expect a protagonist to have, and I feel like Elena was a little bit more of the, it was way more natural, and I do really like the way that romance was done in terms of, an outside story. But for me, personally, and Julian's going to agree, and we're going to talk about this because that's what we talk about here, is Mass Effect.
Oh! No, actually, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, I thought I was going to say.
I totally thought you were going to say Prince of Persia 2008. I thought you were going to say the Prince and Elika.
Oh, God! Okay, wait. Sorry. I have to mention that, too. But actually, if you want to talk about that, you can. But I knew I was forgetting a game. And, oh, man, yes. Prince of Persia 2008 was a thing. But, okay, I'll let you talk about that because someone's going to talk about it. So I'll talk about Mass Effect because it was more... It's not necessarily because it's the best romance, and, of course, it varies between people because you can have romances with different characters. But the reason I picked Mass Effect was mainly just because of specific personal instances, and I feel like Mass Effect was the first game to kind of have that kind of effect on me where I realized that you can have these emotions in games. So pretty much like when I decided to give Mass Effect a second try, and I was playing through it, I was trying to decide, because I know one of the things you can do in Mass Effect was have relationships with certain characters, and the way that I play the games, I try to answer the questions how I would answer them, but that said, I was generally playing Paragon, but I did try to answer how I, would answer in real life, and when you do that in any game, when you feel like you're trying to answer as you would answer, you kind of insert a little bit of your personality. And at the time, I was kind of really down because, I hate, I'm going to take a little of Julian's thunder here and say that I probably have worse luck with girls than Julian has. And, of course, Julian has lived longer, so maybe it doesn't even out there. But at the same time, my history with females has been kind of shit, overall. So, and I could go into detail about that, but it's not necessary. But pretty much, so when I was playing Mass Effect and I was talking with Ashley, and I was just talking with her and stuff like that. The very first instance, I got a sense that she was flirting with my shepherd. It was that was weird. This is interesting. I was and then you kind of get into that prod where you kind of just see where things go. And I was okay, obviously this is a video game. It's gonna go one way or it's gonna go another way, and you can obviously tell how you're gonna be successful versus failing because you can see all your options right there. But it was still there was a sense of satisfaction that you get from flirting, even though it's a fictional character. And even if you look at it from the outside, the story I made up in my head where my Shepherd meets up with Ashley, and of course she's like, this huge hard ass, and she, doesn't really trust a lot of people, especially other alien races. But, over the course of the 3 games, and especially in the first one and the third one, you kind of see her start to come around, and the way that I had it, at least, or the way I imagined it, is like I was kind of trying to help ease her into the whole situation. And I don't know, especially when, she starts, making up the nicknames and stuff for Shepherd and stuff like that. I just felt like it was kind of cool. And it was the first time I'd seen in a video game where it's like they kind of get you to feel as, the main character would, and, as long as you're putting the investment into it, of course, because you could also just, mess around and, have people fighting over you, which I think is hilarious. I don't know if you've ever seen it, the scenes where, like, Liara and Ashley fight over you, but I looked it up on YouTube with my friend, and it's like, especially if you're a renegade, Commander Shepherd makes the funniest remark. Like, he's kind of just watching, and he's like completely entertained, and he has this huge grin on his face the whole time while they're arguing, and it's so out of character, but it's probably one of the best things in that game that most people probably aren't going to see, because it's interestingly enough, it seems like most people are faithful in the games, which is kind of interesting. But so yeah, like for me, just Mass Effect worked on a lot of levels just because of the amount of like it kind of satisfied like a little bit of that flirtatious itch in my personal life, but at the same time I just felt like it, because of the fact that you can have a whole bunch of different really cool relationships, because Ashley might be considered to some as one of the weaker romance options because it's a little bit more straightforward, but I know like one of my friends who romanced Tally was like completely taken by her, that whole arc over the course of the few games, and it's really satisfying, to see it come to fruition. And I can't remember all the romance options right now, but it's I know those 2 in particular are supposed to be really good.
Yeah, you'll get no argument from me, and we've talked at length before on podcasts about how important, not just the romance options, but just the fact that the way that you interact with your party members in Mass Effect gives you this sense of camaraderie with the NPCs, and just gives you that emotional attachment. Right. But Angelo, you have a rebuttal, I believe.
More or less. It's not really a rebuttal so much as I just don't typically enjoy BioWare games, so I don't really get to experience them. And it's been very rare that I've actually seen a good romance in video games, just in general. And I think that's because it's hard to make, a video game focus on romance, because romance isn't really something that you can game and have it come off as anything but crass, if that makes sense. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I'm not trying to insult people who enjoy dating sims and things of that nature, but it just, I guess I have a hard time playing that and finding it not at the very least cheapening the idea of romance and love and that sort of thing. So I just never really get swept up in it. And then I think one of the ones that ironically had a lot of potential, I would say this as far as the one that I saw got really close, and this is going to be a weird choice, was in Halo 4. It sounded like they were going to make it work.
Oh, yeah.
They came so close to making me go, oh my gosh, this is actually a really good romance. And then I'm like, but it can't be because it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was the whole thing.
I think it works a lot better than it has a right to, though. Because
exactly.
I never thought of the Chief Cortana relationship until 4. Until I played it, and to be honest, I completely forgot about Halo 4. But now that you mention it, I feel like that did work because I feel like it's subtle enough to the point where they're not hitting you over the head with it. Of course, it's ridiculous, but in a game like that, I'm willing to take anything. That game has the whole, what's it called? I forgot what it's called. That stupid theory that Halo 4, Assassin's Creed 3, and Mass Effect all suffer. Any game with that is you kind of just throw it all up there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, with Forerunner. Civilizations. There was a what did they call that? There was a name for it.
2012.
I've heard it called the All Story before.
Yeah,
but I don't
All
know.
Story. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It's this whole All Story thing. And if it has the All Story, then I'll take Cortana and Master Chief together.
The thing is, for a good romance, it has to be seeded. Like, for the first 3 games, there was no seeds of romance, especially like I didn't see them at all. Like, there was definitely a respect for each other, and there was in 3 the whole drive to get her back. And yeah, they made you feel that, but I never felt like I have to get Cortana back as a romantic interest. I felt like I have to get Cortana back more as a companion.
Yeah, I actually played only the first 2, and I was gonna make that joke when I was thinking about what jokes I should make, and I was like, wait, but I think like later on they actually become lovers or something. It just seems so.
They don't
funny.
because they can't.
Well, they smooch.
No, I don't think they even do that. Doesn't she just like touch him and that's kind of the end of it? Puts her arms around him or something?
I feel like she kissed him, like she kissed his helmet or something, because she said she always wanted to do that, but maybe she just held him.
Did she do that in the 3rd game? I thought she did.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would be the 4th one, because that's, I've only played 3 and 4.
Up until the 4th game, I got no impression other than a completely platonic relationship between the 2 of them. There was no seeds of romance planted, and they should have, if they wanted to go that route, started to plant them when she became the figure that was ripped away. Like, probably at the end of the 2nd one, they sort of started planting some sort of seeds of this romance going, and then peppered it more in the 3rd one, and then had it come down in the 4th one. They didn't really do that. But the other problem is just like we've been saying is the impossibility of it all and the general creepiness of it, especially with her redesigned character. It didn't work. I don't know. Like the way they made her character look was, and I don't want to get preachy on this whole respect, but that also kind of cheapened it in a way too, because it made it less romantic and more just sexy. Yeah, I guess.
They were definitely pandering with her design in that game.
Exactly. Like I looked at her before and I was like, well, yeah, she's nude, but she's tastefully nude, I guess. And in this one, she kind of looks like a stripper, and it's like, so not really.
Well, you and I had talked about this like off cam or off mic before, but the fact that you see another AI who's male and he's like totally clothed, and it's like very obvious that he's dressed, so it's like it's not even like there's an analog for her. Like it's like no, she's straight up like a fan servicing nude, AI where. The man is like, no, I look like a military, person in a uniform.
But that was a new studio thing. I think had BioWare done it, they might have been or not BioWare. Oh my gosh, Bungie. Had Bungie done it, they would have been maybe a little more consistent. But they weren't involved in that last game. So anyway, that's
another reason why.
My problem is that that is really the closest thing I've experienced to a believable video game romantic relationship, and it's not a very good one. I mean, it's good and it has elements of what make a good romance, and it's probably one of the best ones I've seen in video games personally. I'm not saying there aren't better ones out there, but it didn't really do a whole lot for me other than go, oh wow, that was almost good. So I hate to be the turd in the punch bowl here, but
I feel like you're being like so like
sorry,
like hard-hearted, like
like especially
do anything for you?
What's that?
Lock and Celis in Final Fantasy VI, like
I was probably too young to really appreciate that, to be honest with you. Maybe if I replayed it now, I would get a little bit more of it, but I didn't get it then. At least not in a way where I could kind of appreciate it.
Angelo, I think you might be a little jaded from like having a real life relationship that's so intense,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Is like the rest of us like are so unlucky in love that we're like, oh, that could be me. That's yay.
A lot of projection.
Yeah.
Like as weird as it sounds to talk this way about Kingdom Hearts because they're very young characters, I feel like they're planting seeds of a relationship between I can't remember the characters' names now.
Sora and Kairi.
Yeah. Like there's something there, probably something that they're too young to fully appreciate it, but they definitely want to be connected. No.
I know what you mean.
Okay, good. I feel like that has potential, but this is the furthest I've gotten in a Kingdom Hearts game, and I don't know a whole lot about the lore. And I don't really trust Square Enix to take it in a direction that's going to make me go, oh wow, they nailed the romance thing here, because they haven't been able to handle romance in a long time. Like I think when I think of Square Enix or SquareSoft romance, to go back to the classic name, I think of what they try to do with Cloud and Aeris, and how that didn't click with me, even though when I played that game I was a teenager, and it was just like somebody had to basically explain to me that was supposed to be a romantic interest, and then I went, oh, that I guess it did really suck when she died. So.
I mean, I cried when she died, but it was more just because it was so poignant. But yeah, I mean, I think also that particular one loses so much steam because, like, they created Tifa literally because Cloud needed a love interest after Aeris died. So.
Well, not only that, Tifa was supposed to be like the childhood friend type of person, and personally, I just had a similar person like that in my life, who was just a really good friend of mine who was attracted, but there was absolutely no chemistry between either one of us. I ended up marrying her cousin. So that's interesting.
You're on your second marriage?
No. I'm on my first marriage.
Okay.
I married my friend's. This girl that I was just talking about was a friend of mine and nothing more than a friend of mine.
Okay.
I married her cousin. I met my wife through her.
Okay.
So we were not married.
For a second.
No, she was nothing more than a friend. But I could tell you that she was a very attractive person, but there was just zero chemistry. Just none. We just got along great as friends, but there was nothing more. And I always thought that was kind of the Cloud-Tifa relationship. I never really saw them as romantic. I guess maybe if I had done the correct pick the dialogue options, I would have seen Aeris and Cloud as a little more romantic, but she always seemed like she was a little too stuck on her ex-boyfriend or something. So it was just kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, and I would say it was weird for Final Fantasy in general because I think that Final Fantasy 4 and 6 before did romance way better than 7, and then 8 was supposed to be the big romantic game, which I think it fails so epically at romance because Squall is such a, like, unavailable, like, nothing of a character where he's got all of these thoughts in his head, but he never expresses any of them, which is, to be fair, it's a very Japanese romance story. Mm-hmm. Like, if you read any manga or watch any anime, he is so, the very cool, like, older senpai, high school student who's just kind of too cool for school and never, like, expresses his feelings. Yeah.
Right.
So, but I will say, and I haven't gotten the sense that you've played this one, or maybe you did, but I really feel that Final Fantasy X with Tidus and Yuna, it might be one of the quintessential, like, romances in games for me.
I just got a PlayStation 2, so I haven't had a chance to dig into that one yet, but I plan on it when the HD one comes out.
Okay. I mean, not to spoil much, because, I mean, there is a new version of it coming out, so I don't want to really go too deep into it, but just the sense that she is such a reserved, character who has a very specific purpose in her life, and it's what she was born to do. Mm-hmm. And he comes in as this kind of, like, lovable, kind of airheaded jock who is in way over his head, and kind of imprints himself on her in the sense that he kind of teaches her how to enjoy her life and live, to the point that by Final Fantasy X, too, she has totally embraced that mentality, and she's finally, like, learning to enjoy this life that she had, that once her purpose has been completed, she feels that she can finally experience all the stuff that, he had laid before her. And I think that the fact that she's forever changed because of him, is a very powerful thing. And I think that even with the awkward, 2001 era voice acting, I think that it totally plays.
Yeah, I think it might just be due to the fact that I haven't played a lot of the big romance games. We mentioned BioWare, and I'm going to get into this very briefly, where people see branching storylines that allow them to customize their experience. I see branching storylines that make it impossible to experience the full game by playing through it just once. And that turns me off. That's just me. I'm not saying I'm not trying to judge people that like this game. The other problem with it is, if I play a game like that, I want to be able to inject my decisions in there and have a result come out. BioWare games, to me, feel like, and we've had this discussion before, it feels like they want you to game the choices. They want you to make binary decisions. You're going to be a good guy or a bad guy, and anything in between isn't going to get you the results you need. And I dislike that very much. If you're going to give me a system like that, give me a system where the choices I make are my choices, and I get a result that is just as powerful as any other result.
Completely disagree.
Okay, well, that's why I don't like their games. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me, and feel free to like their games. That's why I dislike them. And I have played the Knights of the Old Republic games, both of them, did not finish them, did not really like them. I tried both of the Baldur's Gate games.
Well, I can't speak to the Baldur's Gate.
I tried other ones too, and they just I cannot. They don't bring me in. I would rather play a story from one end to the other and be like, that was a good story, and be done with it. But that's how I like to play my games.
Well, what I was going to say, Angelo, is that I think you're looking at them wrong, because you do play through a story from beginning to end, and the decisions that you make are, you're basically informing the way that you look at the world, and that's what you get out of it. And I think that, especially as far as like the binary choices, like I hear people can criticize Mass Effect about that a lot, but I feel that like the choices that you make from day to day, or from decision to moment to moment, it's not necessarily like this is going to be a thing that gives me this big payoff at the end, but it's going to further develop my character and the way that he or she sees the world and interacts with the world. And in the case of like Dragon Age 1, like it's completely shades of gray. You can take that in a multitude of different directions, and your character can be, any run of the gamut, and it doesn't. I mean, you're going to get something different out of it no matter how you play, and it's not going to. It's not like a min-max thing where, well, I have to max out this meter or that meter. It's completely viable to play as a middle of the road person, or a morally ambiguous person. I think that when you look at it as just a like this was my Mass Effect, or this was my Dragon Age, you get so much more out of it than feeling, oh, well, I missed out on this or this because I didn't do this. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you can actually, like, potentially never meet certain party members in Dragon Age Origins, I think is amazing.
And I dislike that intensely.
but just the fact that, it's easy. They're difficult to lose. Like, unless, if you're a thorough player, like, you're going to get them. But the fact that you can choose to not get them, or, you can, based on your decisions, they're not there. Like, I think that that's just kind of an amazing thing that games don't do, where, you're telling your own story that way. And it kind of goes back to, like, what David Cage said about, like, the Heavy Rain, where he wanted people to play it once, because that would be your experience through the Heavy Rain story, and it was unique to you. And then, he didn't really want people, like, exploring every nook and cranny to get, like, every single bit of content, which is kind of rare for game developers, because normally, they want you to see everything, and that's why games are so easy these days.
I kind of got to take a stance on this, since we've been on the BioWare subject for so long. I guess everyone else has chimed in, but I omitted them from my list because I feel like it's a different experience for everybody, so you can't really tell what I mean by, like, that is a great love story, because your love story probably happened in a different way than mine did in Mass Effect, so I can't really show you what I think really makes a good love story, because I can't judge, like, all the love stories possible in that game, and it's like, I'm not really sure what they all add up to. I know that I like the one that I have, and I bet the other ones are great too, but I can't, like, narrow it down for someone else to actually, like, concretely know, like, these details in, like, Uncharted are reasons and tropes that I would like the most in a love story. Like, for Mass Effect, it's kind of like the randomness of it is the great love, but I don't really know how to show that, So I took it off the list. And I guess more toward Angelo.
Yeah, I always thought the romances, and this is, again, judging by how they look on paper, are more like achievements than romances. Now, that's because I haven't experienced them, but it seems like when I hear people talking about them, they're like, well, I wanted to get the so-and-so romance option this time, so I made this choice, and this choice, so I got this outcome. And I'm like, that's not... I guess that's a viable way to play a game, but that's not how I want to play that particular type of game.
You could do that, but...
So passionate.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, you can go about it that way, but at the same time, it's more about just carving the experience. But I get what you're saying, because what you're pretty much saying is like you don't like the idea that, you know, now if you want to see what the, you know, Talia romance or the Liara romance is like, you have to play through it again and instead. But, you know, for me at least, it was more like a choose your own adventure. And it's like I could have gone back and seen the other romance options, and, you know, I kind of have a character of a different gender, so I see what, you know, the opposite spectrum is as well. You know, of course, it's not as engaging because I'm a guy, but it's like, you know, it's still like, for me, like when I look to romance in that game, I see my, you know, the story arc of my main character, you know, and, you know, the choices I made, because that's where I was actually invested. And it's like every time I play now, it's like, of course, I'll be making choices because I might want to have this character have a relationship with somebody else or something on purpose. But at the same time, I feel like at least that very first time where you're playing and you're, you know, immersed, like, you know, because everything's a mystery, I feel like that's where it's the most genuine. And that's probably going to be what your basis would be. So, like, say if you ever did relapse and go back to Mass Effect, like, I would say just try to see it like that. And it's not like you're really missing out too much, because, I mean, you do have YouTube, so if you are curious on what, you know, a scene would be like if you were, like, with somebody else, and now I don't mean, like, the ending sex scenes, I just mean, like, you know, conversations or whatever. You could look those up on YouTube and stuff, and, you know, because I've done that. I'd be like, oh, I wonder how this would be different if I was in a relationship with this character or whatever. And, you know, like, it doesn't kill me. Like, I don't feel, I feel more compelled to play through Mass Effect again just to experience it again rather than to see a different romance or option, you know.
Well, and Angelo, maybe to your point is the fact that BioWare fans are the worst thing to happen to BioWare games. So if you're not so like you being having not really experienced the games that much, but hearing people talk about them, I could see totally turning you off to that stuff, because the thing that pisses me off anytime a new BioWare game comes out is the initial comments in any thread where it's like, oh, who do I get to bang this time? And it's like, that's so reductive and so not what those games are. And I do think that if you're playing the game and you're invested in the story and you're invested in your character and you're paying attention, it becomes a just organic thing that happens. And I think my counter to this, and then we'll kind of move on to our final section, but the thing that I'll do to defend this is Dragon Age 2, when I was playing that game the first time, I really legitimately liked the character of Meryl, who is a like Dalish elf blood mage, and there were not options in her dialogue to try to like flirt with her or anything, to the point that I was like, well, you know what? I really like this character, and if there's not a way, like if she's not interested in my character, then I'm just not going to romance anybody else, and it's just going to be like an unrequited love for my main character, because I was not interested in the other obvious female romances. But I kept talking to her because she was my favorite character in the game, and it was just because I liked to hear her voice and I liked to talk to her. But eventually, and this was like very late, you know, by comparison, like Isabella, who's like your like pirate thief, was totally coming on to my character within like the second conversation, because that's just who she is. Meryl, on the other hand, did not even show any inklings of liking my character until probably a good like 15 hours into the game, and it wasn't even during a conversation. It was an offhand comment that she made to another party member, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, like that, like, well, you know, just because in Mass Effect they kind of do things like that, but not to that extent. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and it almost felt like being in high school where someone tells you that so and so likes you. Like, it was that type of feeling where it's like, wait, really? Like, no. But, oh, okay. And then, and then I was like talking to her even more, and then seeing it, develop more, and it was such a sweet romance, especially to the sense that, in that situation where, she's used to being in the woods and stuff like that, when she finally moves in with the main character into his mansion, because, in Dragon Age 2, you're kind of like moving up in this town where you're finally like kind of a lord. It's very uncomfortable for her. She doesn't like living there. and she doesn't feel at home there, and there's like little conversations where she's kind of expressing that, and it just felt so real, and so, because it actually introduced like the concept of, just because you get together with somebody doesn't mean that it's going to be like all roses and fun. Like there was legitimate like concerns about their relationship, like after they got together, and I thought that was like really impressive, to the point that I'm a little disappointed that they're talking about not having anything like that in Dragon Age Inquisition. Just because I think it does add quite a bit to the story. But as long as just the interaction with your party members is up to, the normal BioWare level, I'm fine with that. But
so is that the character you date in real life or what?
Yeah, I thought she was completely lovable. Like if I had a crush on a video game character, it would be Meryl from Dragon Age 2.
A girl with a wicked mind, but everything looks better when the sun goes down. I had everything, opportunities for eternity, and I could belong to the night. Your eyes, I can see in your eyes. You make me wanna die. I'll never be good enough. Me wanna die.
But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and move on because
I thought you were gonna talk about Elika. Elika.
Well, because I already talked about like Brutal Legends, because I thought you were gonna talk about Elika.
Yeah, I kind of flopped there. Yeah. Well, I still want to give the Prince Elika relationship a shout out because, like, aside from, the Mass Effect one, like this one, even though it wasn't personal, I still felt it because of how it culminates at the end. Oh man, like, because seeing the Prince's arc, because the whole game he's kind of just being flirtatious, and you can see kind of the comments between them, and as you get through, towards the end, when she starts flirting back, and it's kind of, it's all fun and games until, shit got real at the very end. And pretty much the whole game, well, do you guys care about spoilers for this game since it's, so old? Because pretty much like the whole game you're going through trying to, pretty much seal up this evil that got released. And once you do that, you have to, you realize that in order to seal up this evil, you have to, you're like the girl that you were traveling with, Elika, is going to die because the only reason that the evil is there is because her father unleashed that evil in order to bring her back. So pretty much when you put it back, she, dies along with it. So, she's there dead, and the prince has to carry her, and you have this whole credit sequence where you're kind of just walking with her body in his hands. And then once you get out the building, he pretty much just says, screw this, and he goes and pretty much undoes what you did, played the whole game for, which, I don't know, some people might think of it as pointless, but at the same time, I thought it was extremely powerful because you don't want to do it, and because what's going to happen if you do it, but at the same time, you're not mad at him because you don't want her to die either. So it's a really intense pull of emotions, and then I'm still really upset that they didn't continue that series because I feel like they really had something with that, but that romance I feel like was really well done, and underrated too. I think a lot of people forgot about it just because it's like the black sheep of that series for some reason.
Yeah, and also just big ups on the dialogue and the voice performances because it's so conversational and relaxed and comfortable. And of course Nolan North has a lot to do with that, but just the banter back and forth it doesn't feel like two people recording their lines separately. It feels like two people playing off of each other in a room, which it probably was because it just feels too natural.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thought it'd be fun to wrap up it being Valentine's season and all and also kind of building off of like last episode's little introspective like BS that I went into. I thought it'd be fun to just talk about like one epic romantic fail, because we've all got them. And I just thought it'd be a little fun way to close it out. I don't want to get too depressing or dark, because try to keep it light. I'm going to go last because mine is a mic dropper. But let's start with Angelo.
Oh, okay. Mine is definitely on the lighthearted side. It is pretty much the first half of the story of how I actually met my wife is more or less an epic fail.
So you're going to talk for 4 seasons?
No. Here's what happened. We actually met. She went to the same school as I did for 1 year when I was in 5th grade, and I could not stand the sight of her. So she actually had a crush on me at the time, and she would chase me all over the place, and I would run away, and I would get mad when she came over to try to talk to me, and I would like just shoot her down constantly. Like I was straight mean. Like she's even saying in the background, she's like, "You were so mean." I was like, she would come to me and be like, "Oh, so can we go here?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to hang out with you." Like I'd just be completely mean to this girl, right? And basically, the way this story kind of ends is at one point there's a local place over here where people would go roller skating. It was kind of like a teen hangout place. What we did around here, I guess. And we were there, and she kept pestering me to skate with her. And then her friends kept pestering me to skate with her. And if you remember, I just said a little while ago, I was really good friends with her cousin. And her cousin was coming over, just please do it. It would mean a lot to her, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. And at one point, I just, like, because I was still young. I was like 10 years old or something. I was not. She's saying I was 12. It was 5th grade. All right. So
the wife is always right, Angelo.
Yes. She's older than me. She's a year older than me. So that's why that got confusing. Anyway, so I had, because I was young and confused and whatever, and my father was there, and I kind of ran over and was like, "What the heck are you supposed to do when this happens, right?" And he goes, "Do you want to skate with her?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Then don't." He goes, "But be careful." He goes, "Because you might regret this later." So, turns out I did not see her for like 19 years. And then she showed back up and we started hanging out again, and then we got married.
That's crazy. Wow.
So that's the story. I still haven't made up that skate though. That's in the works, but that's I would say that's a fail with a very, very, very positive ending, but it's a pretty crazy fail story, I think.
What I'm gleaning from this is what I've been told, or what I've been shown in my life, which is, if you want to get a girl, just go ahead and treat her like a dick, and eventually she'll just come to you. That's what I got from that.
It's not 100% true.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Trust me, I'm with you, Julian. I know. I've seen it. It's right. You're right.
Well, then tell me yours, JD.
I don't have just one. I have a book full, pretty much.
Well, we'll just do one, because I've got multiple ones too. But the one I picked was a doozy.
I mean, do you want like an individual story, or just like a mishap, or like a fail, or what? Like,
I think we're going more for fail.
Where do I start? Patrick, you go. I have to think. I have to get this one.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of my fails are too personal, but I guess this one is too, but I don't really have another story. I was in college in the corn sticks of Iowa, and probably with one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, and we were, really compatible with each other. We watch movies, go out to coffee, and do homework together, all that stuff. And I'm going over to her place. I do that sometimes, her dorm. We're walking up the stairs. It's her first, then me. Then I turn back and look at her best friend. And this girl gives me like a nasty look, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I wanted to kick her down the stairs. And I don't know, I like felt so mad because she would give me these looks a lot. And so this one time, once I got in bed with the girl, like, we were talking, and she's got this like all pink room and stuff, and it's really feminine, but like she's also really down to earth, and she's just classical beauty. And I actually bring that up, and that was dumb. I think I actually said like, and I just felt like I wanted to kick your friend down the stairs.
Oh
boy.
Not have said that, because that's all she heard. She didn't hear the part after where I was like, because I don't think she likes me and she respects me and all that. She just stopped right at there. And that's when it was over.
She was like, I was right about you gamers.
Yeah.
You are violent.
No, her brother was a gamer, so she was okay with that. She would like watch, but she didn't want to play.
I see.
Yeah, she was good.
Damn.
If only.
I mean, I still have some memories of her that will not leave my mind, but, you know.
Yeah. Alright, so I've kind of composed like an easier one that isn't so bad. It's not bad at all, but it's just one that I don't mind talking about because it's not as depressing or, you know, anger-inducing or whatever. So, pretty much a couple years ago, and like I said, my stories with girls are like, this is a girl I didn't even really know. It was just a cute girl. It had nothing to do with anything, like, you know, any girl that I knew particularly. But pretty much, I think I was at Comic-Con 2012. Yeah. I was like, they're promoting Assassin's Creed 3. So you know how I don't know if you've ever been to a convention, but pretty much sometimes they have these booths that are hidden off, and you have to kind of get online, and you know, you would go into this like little black room, and once you go in there, you sit down and you kind of just watch a presentation for a few minutes. So pretty much in this one, they're demonstrating Assassin's Creed 3, and you know, I'm kind of just sitting there by myself because, you know, I think there was one of the days I was kind of just renegading. And then this girl comes and sits right next to me, and she was really attractive. And I don't know if she was dressed up, like if she had any cosplay on. She didn't look like it, but she looked like she was kind of themed. But as soon as she sits down, she starts talking to me, and she's like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait. You know, like she started gushing about how excited she was for this game. And for me, that's weird because like where I come from, like I live in, you know, Hempstead, Uniondale, and at least the high school I went to and the girls that flooded that school were not, you know, the types of girls that played games and stuff. If anything, if you played games, they looked at you like you were immature and stuff like that. Like it was like there were a few that did, but predominantly, like, you know, gaming was a really looked down upon hobby at the time or whatever. At least it was hard because I, you know, wasn't owning up to it the way that I do now, which is kind of weird because I don't know, just different reasons. But anyway, so she starts talking to me about the game, and you know, I'm kind of having like, you know, regular conversation with her, and I'm not really getting the hint that she might be interested, but you know, one of my friends, he was in the same presentation as us, and he was kind of just seeing the whole thing as it was happening, and me, I'm just, I guess, clueless the whole entire time. So, you know, after the presentation was over, we walked out, and I was kind of just being completely, like, in my own bubble and kind of just, like, walking around, just, like, looking around. And my friend, he comes and finds me. He's like, dude, did you not, you know, see the signs? Like, she was kind of, like, you know, apparently she was, like, waiting for me, like, to talk to her more or something like that. And me, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of in my own head sometimes, and I just wasn't focusing. And, you know, especially since, you know, she was talking to me and stuff like that, I should have thought about it more. But, you know, it was one of those dope moments where I'm like, oh, great, now I'm going to smack myself a little bit and go cry in a corner. But, it wasn't that serious. It could have been worse, but it was still one of those things where, like, really, like, it was pretty much just right there, and nothing came of it. But, it's one of many, so I'm used to it.
I recommend the fetal position. It's the most soothing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well,
you just play REM's "Everybody Hurts" and you're all right.
I do have real fail stories, by the way, in case that one sounds too successful, but I don't have to go into them if you want to move on. I'm just figuring I'd mention that.
No,
yours is good.
I think you're good.
Okay.
And
That's sadness.
JT, I'm about to make you feel much better about yourself.
Oh no,
because I've got an oblivious one that is on a completely different level. I remember this day extremely vividly, and that's weird because, being the hardcore gamer that I am, most of my memories revolve around video games, and my actual personal life doesn't stick out too much. But, and this will also date it, but I was going to go see the original Transformers movie with my friend Kristen at the Alamo Draft House. And the problem with the Draft House is that you can't really just show up and go see a movie because it's such a popular theater in Austin that pretty much every showing will sell out, even on a weekday and stuff like that. So it was sold out. We couldn't figure out anything else that we wanted to do, so we just went our separate ways, and it had started to rain. It was like a really dreary day, and I was like, man, I was going to see a movie, and I didn't. I'm going to go to Blockbuster. That also dates this story, and rent a couple movies. So, I go to Blockbuster, and I'm looking around, and by now it's starting to pour. Like, it's really coming down. And I noticed this girl looking at the new releases, and instantly, like, I'm interested. I notice her because she has this way of carrying her that says that she has no idea how gorgeous she is, which is kind of my thing. Where she was really pretty, but the way that she was holding herself and the way that she was looking around and the way she was dressed just said that she was completely oblivious to that fact. But she was looking around, and I was looking around also. I did notice that she was picking some really bad movies. But anyway, the lights in the Blockbuster go out completely. And when they turn on, she and I are looking straight into each other's eyes. And, like, it was like, if there was ever, like, a sign from up on high, like, that had to have been it, right? Wow. And, like, she kind of nervously, like, smiles, and she says, like, oh wow, it's really coming down. And I was like, yeah, it was starting a little bit ago. I was going to go see a movie with a friend, and it was starting to come down over there. And she's like, oh yeah, what were you going to go see? And I was like, oh, the new Transformers movie. And she said, oh yeah, I hear that's good. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And we just kind of hung there. And then she kind of looked down and she says, yeah, I'm just going to rent a couple movies and watch them home by myself. I kind of do that a lot. And I was like, no, I totally understand. I do that too. Alrighty then. And I just went about my business. And it's like,
I feel you right there. Like, I'm giving you a chest move. Like,
I knew as it was happening, there was something that I was supposed to do in that situation. I didn't know what it was, and I kept, like, thinking about it the whole way home. I was like, what should I have done? Should I have offered to, like, rent her movies for her? That's weird. Like, should I have said that, like, my apartment's around the corner, we can watch those together? No, because we just met, right? That's creepy. And I was like, should I have, like, offered my umbrella to, like, kind of walk her to her car? Wait, I don't own an umbrella. I need to buy an effing umbrella. And the thing is that I think about her to this day, because if I had done the thing which you're supposed to do, which is let her know that I watch a lot of movies too, and here's my number, and if you ever want to, like, watch some movies together, we can. Like, who knows? She could have been, like, my Angelo's wife. Like, where it's like, oh, I've got this really awesome girl, and, like, life is really happy and sunshine all the time. But no, it was,
And I'm right with you.
Trust me, man. I know what you feel like, because you have that sense of, like, the worst thing is thinking about like knowing what you could have done. It's just it didn't come to you until like right after, or like the moments after. That's when all the good ideas start pouring in. And you're like, oh yeah, like now it's easy. But of course, in the moment, you're like, yeah. So I'm trying to make things not awkward, and in doing that, you kind of just fuck yourself over. Excuse me.
That's a big reason why I write, because I think of those things like afterwards. But
yep.
I'm like, this is how it should have been. I'm writing it down. This is how I could have done it.
Yeah, it was definitely like George Costanza moment driving home, where it's like, that's what I should have done.
And I used to feel
I think
all the
everybody
time,
has those.
so like I made like a pact with myself that I would like lay everything on the table no matter what, and that kind of got me in trouble too. So like there was a while where in college I was a little bit too blunt about things, like just like told people straight up, I think you're really hot and one of the best looking people I've ever seen, blah blah blah, or something like that, and didn't always work out for me. Coming on too strong could be bad as well.
Romance is such a weird thing.
Yeah,
well,
yes, it is.
And we also live in a really weird society where it's just not acceptable to just say like something like that without it being construed as like having an ulterior motive. Like I saw this woman in the parking lot at Target the other day who was bloody gorgeous, and she was just sitting in her car and she had her window rolled down. And I just wanted to like walk up and say, I just wanted to let you know that you're bloody gorgeous, and that's it. Like I wasn't trying to get her number. I didn't want her number or anything. Like I just like I felt like she should have been told that day. But there's no way I was going to do that because she probably would have thought I was trying to, like, carjack her or something. So I just went about my business.
I was thinking, like, some woman just sitting in the car minding her own business. All of a sudden, some dude drops by. He's like, "You're gorgeous." Window would go up so fast,
Especially if it's my mug that's in the window.
What's happening, man?
No,
like, hi. Yeah.
But
I can't do that because I'm black, so I probably get framed for something.
But you're a good-looking man, JD. Like if I had half your looks when I was your age, like I feel like I would have been doing pretty all right.
Yeah, you could get away with it.
You'd be surprised. But anyway.
But we are going to wrap up. But real quick before we left, Patrick, you wanted to. Well, I'm not really sure what you want to do.
I wanted us to go around and say who you'd date in real life that was a character in a video game.
Oh, well, you already know mine. It's Meryl. So.
Yeah, that's why I asked. I was hoping I would get everybody else. So, Angelo and JD?
I'll let Angelo go first.
I have no idea.
Angelo would make his wife in Soul Calibur and then, like, dip her.
I like that. I like it.
Because, to be honest, I feel like I'd be cheating if I said who I actually would pick, so I don't know.
Do it. Why not?
Okay, so can you pick a character that is in a video game, but that person exists in real life?
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Oh yeah, that's right. I put that together too. I was like gonna say Lucrezia Borgia.
I'm just thinking, could I do that?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Okay, I'm gonna pick AJ Lee then.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay. I thought you were picking Talus from Dragon Age 2, aka
Oh no.
Day.
Yeah. No, I was there's a toss up, but it's just like yesterday I had this huge debate. Well, I was part of this huge Twitter debate about AJ Lee, and I've just been thinking about her. So I was like, she's a female wrestler, and I don't know why. She's kind of spunky, and she's
fun size, and she also plays Metal Gear Solid, and
she's kind of like a.
She's in the comic books and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, JD, you and I have definitely been vying for her affection. I mean, obviously nothing could ever come of it, but yeah, on Twitter, you and I have gotten into it a couple times.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
But I guess that's my cheating answer. I guess my real answer is I don't have any answer that I could be realistic about because I feel like the Mass Effect choices are kind of fulfilled because I played those games and it's like I know where I would want it to go. So I guess I would just have to go with my favorite female characters. So I'd have to pick somebody like Chun-Li or something. But I don't really care about her personality. I just think she's a cool character. But
them hips though.
Yeah, them hips though. The jump it her neutral jump hard kick. Can't beat
it. that should be the way that you would come on to her. Yo, that neutral jump hard kick. I just gotta say.
We're inches away from she kicks high.
Patrick,
save us.
Oh, I don't know. Those are interesting choices, guys. I guess I thought we were supposed to do that. I guess I must have read into it wrong. I think I read what I wanted to see.
I guess so. So what's yours? being all coy.
Well, definitely Carrick and the Queen of Blades, but I was also thinking maybe Lucrezia Borgia, like she was in a love interest with Ezio Auditore, and she was also a real life person in a certain time period.
She was the love interest in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Because I know in Revelation he had a different romance, but I don't really know too much about her.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. Like I just watched the
Adventures, winning 6 of them.
Yeah.
Then I was like Zelda, and I date myself. I'm in games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Patrick, don't you date yourself a little too often these days?
Oh, that's why it's parental advisory.
And on that note, then we're going to go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah, in case you were waiting for some parental guidance for the entire episode, you just got served.
Well, the show's got an explicit tag on the description. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening. JD, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Always fun.
Definitely. I think we're actually going to have you back pretty soonish for an idea that I have. So yeah, and you can also find us all on the Twitters. JD.
A myth known as JD.
Patrick.
I'm at some boss.
Angelo.
I'm at Pixel AJ.
And you can find me at Julian_Tidus. Go check us out at pixelbit.com. We just opened up forums, so that's kind of cool and exciting. Yeah, and we'll be doing some more stuff soon. Final episode of Backloggers Anonymous, Asura's Wrath will be out shortly, so look forward to that with Erica Sabo, and hopefully I can rope her into doing that Final Fantasy episode that I want to do.
Nice.
Because that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's going to do it. So thanks again for listening as always, and for myself, JD, Patrick, and Angelo, thanks for listening, and keep it pantsless, Internet.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was my Mickey Mouse voice.
It was pretty darn good.
Can't explain all the feelings that you're making me feel. My heart's in overdrive and you're behind the steering wheel. Touching you, touching me, touching you, can't you touch your mood? I believe in a big cold love, just in the room of my heart. There's a chance we can make it now. We'll be looking for the sun you start. I believe in a big cold love.
I'm fucking bored, man. Boredom's the first step on the road to relapse.
Oh.